welcome to Inside the Birds Pregame Live, presented by Mojo, the sports stock app. We are here at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook in Philadelphia, where Philly loves a winner. Even more, Philly loves a champion. Today, the Eagles can become Super Bowl champions for the second time. I'm Geoff Mosher with my co-host Adam Caplan. It's such a big game, we had to bring in two big dudes. So joining us today are former Eagles left tackle, Eagles Hall of Fame tackle, Trey Thomas. What's up, Trey?
I'm fantastic. It's game day.
It is game
Super
day.
Bowl game day.
Right. Super Bowl. Say it like you like to say.
Super Bowl game day.
There you go, with that thunderous voice that you got.
Ready.
All right, and also filling in for our man Jason Avant today is former Eagles center Jamaal Jackson.
Wait. You forgot to add Eagles legend. I know I'm not a Hall of Fame. It's like honorable mention. You know what I'm saying?
That is correct. Listen,
my numbers.
Delaware State legend, Eagles legend.
There you go.
Jamaal Jackson.
Joining John Taylor, right?
Yeah.
See?
Listen, fella, I'll say anything to make you guys happy. I wouldn't want to mess with either of you. So, no, you guys all know the deal. The best two teams in the NFL collide today to determine a Super Bowl champion. The Eagles and the Chiefs, both #1 seeds in their respective conferences. For the Eagles, it's their first trip back since winning it for the first time in 2017. For the Chiefs, they're kind of used to this thing. They've been to 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, and they won one of those, so they're looking for Patrick Mahomes' and Andy Reid's second Super Bowl since they took over there. We're going to break it all down right here at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook. Now, there's a lot of action going on. You got people enjoying the big, gigantic, what would you call, I keep calling them flat screen TVs. They're more like theater TVs, right? They're huge video boards, HD. You got some college basketball on. You got the fans piling in. I see a lot of Eagles jerseys already as everybody's getting fired up. They're going to take advantage of all the great specials here at Jack's Bar and Grill. And look, it's going to be a great day for Eagles fans all across the Delaware Valley. We know you want to talk, so leave us a comment in the chat box, and any one of us will try to answer your question. And please give the show a like, give the show a share, whatever you can do to promote it. We'd be very appreciative of it. We want to remind you that Inside the Birds Pregame Live is presented by Mojo. Use our code ITB125 to get a $100 deposit bonus on Mojo, and you can download using the link in the description. All right, fellas, we've already heard. I want to ask you right off the bat. We have Jason Avant on our platform. We have Quentin Michael on the platform, as you know. They've talked all week that this is, there's some internal conflict. It's the team they played for versus the coach who brought them here, Andy Reid. I wonder the same about you guys. As when you watch this game today, Trey, you got your Linval Joseph jersey on. Just kidding, that's a Trey Thomas jersey. Is there a little bit of a mixed conflict at the end of the game, regardless? Or
No, not at all. I appreciate the relationship that I've had with Coach Reid. Playing under him for 10 years, you have to have some type of rapport and respect for him. But I ride with the Birds, and I just think that it's Sirianni's time now, it's his team now, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Eagles bring home the Lombardi.
All right, Jamaal, I'll ask you because I'm pretty sure you contractually never played for another NFL team, correct?
No.
Right. I mean, you had some flirtations here and there, but you were an Eagle through and through.
I'm a bit split. My head is with the Birds, but my heart is with Big Red because he gave me a chance. So, I will always be indebted to him for that. So, no matter if they're playing or whoever they're playing, deep down, I'm rooting for Big Red. But, of course, I want the Birds to bring home.
Bro, when the playoffs started, were you guys at all hoping like Eagles versus any other team but Andy? Even though you're not that split, were you just hoping to rather see a different team than Andy's?
No, I think that this was the matchup that you wanted to see. Coming into this game because, it was always Patrick Mahomes or Jaylen Hurts for the MVP and all that. So I wanted to see the game that's going to be the best game because, we just watched, the Eagles go out there and dominate San Fran. So for a Super Bowl, I don't want to see that type of game. I want to see a competitive game. So I was hoping that they would go up against Kansas City.
Okay. Well, what about you?
I was leaning towards, I didn't want to see this matchup. I didn't. I was afraid of it. Really. Just because of the emotional aspect of it. like I say, I'm still rooting for Big Red, but I want the Birds to win. So I'm kind of split, but I just want to see a good game.
Yeah, because a lot of those coaches that are on that staff was with us, because you have Greg Lou, G. Lou, that's on the receiver.
He came
he's
in
the
with
running
me.
back coach
He's the running
now,
backs coach
and then
now,
you have Tom Melvin, I think is tight ends coach. So you have a lot of guys on that staff that we're familiar with. Rick
Spags.
Spags.
Brett Veach was like the. Wasn't he like the
Andy's assistant?
Andy's assistant.
Yeah, I mean, you even have man.
You got Rick Burkholder.
Rick Burkholder, and then
So Mark Donovan this week.
Mark Donovan, the president.
was riding out.
who was our running back coach?
Your running backs
Ted
coach
Williams?
was
Ted Williams. So you got Ted Williams' son that's out there
That's
as
right, his
well.
son
So
is on the
somebody
staff.
that we watch grow up, So it's a lot of relationships on that Kansas City field.
Right. I mean, the worst part about this game every year is that while somebody's got to win it, somebody's got to lose.
Somebody has to lose.
That is tough. All right, we're going to get into the X's and O's, but Jamaal, just for your education here, what we always like to do is start off the show with some kind of big picture outlook of this game. I'm going to ask Trey first. You guys both were on the 2004 Super Bowl team that played the Patriots in Jacksonville. Trey, you started left tackle. Jamaal, you were on injured reserve.
Mm-hmm.
But Trey, I want to ask you right now, just your feeling of what a locker room is like in those moments before you guys take the field.
I mean, it's really energized. I mean, because everything, you've been building up to this moment, and it's a lot of hype going into it. I know a lot of those guys probably could barely sleep just because they're so amped up and ready to go for this game. It's just going to be a lot of energy, and you're trying to harness that in. One of the things I think that's good is that this game is going to be played a lot earlier for these guys. So there's not that 8 o'clock game time, that you can get out there around that 4 or 6 o'clock time frame, and then let's go to work.
Right. When the national anthem is being sung and you're standing there just waiting, is there a calm before the storm, or were you just like it was your heart pounding?
Yeah, because you usually tend to kind of calm down right around that time. You get that national anthem in. You're still fired up, but you're kind of trying to harness it so that you can get out there and get ready for that first play.
Awesome. Jamaal, I'm going to ask you this because this team. Both of these teams are built sort of similarly, right? Not surprising because of the Andy Reid influence. You have two very good offensive lines. You have great pass rushers on both sides of the ball. You also have quarterbacks who can move around and make second reaction plays. When you have two teams that similar matching up, what often is the determining factor?
Well, who can stop who? At the last, last 2 minutes. I mean, we don't want.
Do you kind of see that?
Yeah. With our defense, I mean, we've been known to get after the quarterback. So if they can get to Mahomes early and often, of course, that always changes the course of the game if you hit the quarterback. But, I always say, man, if you give him, he's like the, I won't say the next Tom Brady, but within the last 2 minutes of the game, you don't want to give him, 48 seconds. He knocked the Bills out a couple years ago with like 13 seconds.
13 seconds.
So, I mean, I don't want to give him any time left on the clock. Like, I'd rather just, 4 minutes the whole game.
Sure.
We heard that a lot this week on Radio Row, that it's going to come down to whoever has the last possession. And as Jamaal said, if it's Mahomes, that's not good for the Eagles or any team.
It did feel like most of the people we spoke to in the league, whether it's a former coach, former player, felt like if the game was going to be won by 8 to 10, it was going to be the Eagles. If the game was going to be won on the last second drive, field goal, then it would favor the Chiefs in that regard. I think that's kind of an interesting look into how people think the game's going to unfold. Also, a big topic for us while we were out in Arizona, and you guys were back here, so I think it's a good discussion. We'll get into it. I'll start with Adam. Is that while we were out in Arizona, I would say 9 out of 10 people we spoke to involved in the NFL in some capacity said the Eagles 53 was the best 53 in this game, and one of the best that they've seen in quite a while. Wouldn't you say that was the dominant talk?
It wasn't just us saying it. It's like everyone said it because it's kind of obvious.
Right.
And Avant said this, and this encapsulated the whole week. When your punter is your weakest link, you probably have a very good football team.
Yeah.
That's where it was.
But that seemingly goes against whatever was being said back here this week, because I know that we've done a couple of interviews throughout the week back home, and I think because of the 49ers crying, Julian Love saying this and that, and maybe some national media who didn't give Jaylen Hurts the respect that he deserves, it felt like in Philly, the disrespect theme was going on. Like, people are going to say this is not a good team if it wins a Super Bowl, but in reality, if you take people away from that bubble, the Eagles got a ton of respect. Now, for people who it matters most, the Eagles are getting a ton of respect. I mean, you guys have followed this team for a while since you played for it. One of the best 53s you've had to have seen for this franchise, no?
I mean, I think with this team, what makes them, I guess, a notch above the previous teams is, well, at least the 17 team was, I don't think there was no egos on this team. You know, everybody knows their role. And it's like the better players are like the older players, and they know they're kind of like at the end of the road a little bit, so they're kind of ushering in the younger guys so they can, like, you know, hopefully take their place and keep the train moving.
Tell me this, Caplan. Have you ever seen a team that had 5 Pro Bowlers on the you know, because I mean, pretty much, I mean, you had the 2 alternates. If this was a traditional Pro Bowl, you would have had 5 of your offensive linemen playing.
And I'll be honest with you, I mean, everyone has their opinion. I thought Dixon had a good year.
Yeah.
Some people didn't think he should be a Pro Bowler. But when you really look at the Eagles' units, A.J. Brown's got to be one. Kelsey's got to be one. He's elite. Lane Johnson's still elite. Goddard, unfortunately, got hurt, but you could say he's good enough to be a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Were they really weak in their 22 starters? Did they have one? No. What do you guys think about Isaac Timao? Because some people think he's not as good. I think he's better than people think.
I think he is. He's I guess the completing link to that chain, because he's not loud. He don't get a lot of praise, but he gets the job done and you never hear his name called.
Yeah, he's the tap man on the silent cat, right?
Yeah, and then he's the person that's in between Kelsey and Lane Johnson. You know, Lane is going to be the one that's going to be, you know, he's the best in the game right now, and then Kelsey, you're between 2 of the best in the game. So of course you're going to get overlooked, but I mean, you know, he's out there making moves. He's a big people mover out there, and I think he's definitely developed into a solid right guard.
Yeah, but he will be spot shadowed this game.
Oh yeah,
Jones
absolutely.
plays right over him, so
yeah.
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, we're going to get into that matchup a lot because there's a couple of things that I think the Chiefs might be doing and the Eagles will do up front that I want to hear from you guys on. Why don't we get into the injuries, as we always do to start it off? And I think, you know, both teams are probably pretty happy with their injury situation. You'd love to have everybody, and some guys are on IR from prior, but in general, it's going to be a matchup between 2 pretty healthy teams when you talk about the most impact players.
All of a sudden, the only one you're concerned about is Britton Covey, the Eagles punt returner. He didn't do very much on Thursday or Friday. He's now questionable. He's the only player they're worried about. In fact, that's why Greg Ward was activated from the practice squad. And then the big news is Aaron Sipos was activated off IR, which we were expecting. That's why they put him in the 21-day window. In fact, I talked to someone close to Brett Kern who said that he felt coming in this week, he probably wasn't going to be the punter. But here's the thing, they didn't cut him.
Right.
Because they had an open spot. So maybe it's gamesmanship. But it would really surprise me if Sipos is not the punter today.
All right, so will the Eagles be the first team in Super Bowl history to carry 2 punters into on their 53 into the game? Right, because they haven't released Brett Kern.
No, well, you can't do it now.
Right, you can't do it now, so they're literally carrying 2 punters on the 53.
I don't know why they're doing that. It's not like Sipos showed that he's healthy. Why would you? Well, again, they don't really need to. There was really no one else to add. I guess they felt, so why cut him?
Right, because you have your elevations that we'll get into
I'll tell you what, though, if they had both active, I've not ever seen that before. 2 punters active?
Yeah.
If this is anything like the 2017 Super Bowl, we won't need any of them.
That's a great point. 2 guys that got 2 free tickets to the Super Bowl.
Over 1,100 yards of total offense.
Obviously, the big sort of concern was coming out of the NFC Championship was Landon Dickerson's elbow. He hyperextended it coming out of the game, his left elbow, but it sounds like he's all right, good to go, so no concerns there.
Have you guys ever had that injury where you've kind of had it jerked it and
I've hyperextended my elbow several times. Like, you do it a lot as like an interior guy. Either it get pinched in between like a tackle, somebody blocking somebody, but yeah, it happens often.
And what's usually the timetable on that? Are you all right 2 weeks later?
It depends. Like, if you have if it's just a sprain, you're good. You brace it up and keep going. But if you have like a partial tear, you got to monitor it a little bit. No lifting weights, no practice, no pushing, no punching, none of that.
Right.
So
what a story he's been, real quick, because there's no skepticism about the talent. He was considered a top 15 player. He had 4 knee injuries. it's very un-Eagles-like. The same team that passed on DK Metcalf decided to draft him anyway. He's played in almost every game, but he literally comes out of every game either limping or holding something, but then he's right back there the next day.
It just seems like he would have everything braced up.
Yeah.
You know, like he would wear knee braces, wrist braces, elbow sleeves, but, you know, it doesn't look cute. So, you know.
There we go.
Right. So that's the problem.
No, I don't. When we talk about knee braces, you are supposed to scream.
I know. Put on some
Wear
knee
your
braces.
wear your damn knee braces.
I mean, put on some knee braces.
That's what the people want to hear.
Practice.
Yeah, I wear them all the time. Anytime the helmet and shoulder pads come on, you should have on knee braces.
Went to bed in knee
Jamal, did you wear them?
No.
Oh, you did?
No.
Why?
I wore them in college, but when I got to the NFL, I saw a lot of guys like getting rid of them. And me personally, I'm like, I'm not as fast already, so let me get rid of some of this metal to get a little bit quicker.
See, they feel like they're slowing them down. It doesn't.
Yeah, like you guys are running 4.240.
Yeah, I want to feel like a tank. I don't want to feel like a Ferrari out there. I want to feel like a tank.
No, I wore them in college. I just, did away with them.
All right. Every other person who was on the injury report at some time should be all right. That's Cam Jurgens on the hip. We know Avante Maddox coming back from that toe injury. He played in the NFC Championship game. He's expected to play today. Robert Quinn with the foot. It was a knee, then it was a back, it was a foot. Yeah,
He'll be available whether they play him or not because he doesn't really have much left.
He might take up some spot next to Sipas and Kern and just.
Is he going to be active?
Enjoy the game.
Yeah, that's
should be
the question.
Active, yeah.
I mean, they really don't need him at this point.
If he's active, I'm sure he's got to be good for one.
Good for one play. One sack?
Dude,
have you watched the last few games, my friend?
I haven't, but that's the thing. It's the element of surprise. You don't know what he's going to do.
That's a good point.
Could be his last game.
As far as elevations, Greg Ward elevated for the game, which we know Britton Covey dealing with the hamstring, right? Yep. And Anthony Harris, for the third straight time, is elevated, but the last 2 games he was elevated but not active.
On game day, yes.
Don't you guys wish? Don't you guys wish? Elevated but not active.
Wait a minute, how does that
nice
work?
game day check.
Still gets paid.
So just get paid? Regular? Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
As for the Chiefs, we know Mecole Hardman went on IR throughout the week. Pelvis injury he's been dealing with. He could not make it. Barely gutted out the AFC Championship game. To clear room or in his spot, they did activate running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who has not been a real big part of their offense, whether hurt or not hurt. We know that this is the Isaiah Pacheco show. Nonetheless, he is active. Patrick Mahomes dealing with the high ankle sprain. He's going to play. He's going to start. Jerick McKinnon dealing with both ankles, correct?
Yeah, he will play.
Who was the safety who had the hands? Was that Anthony Harris last year?
Oh, yes.
He was on the injury report with hands.
And people are trying
and
to figure
fingers.
what is that about?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
How do they do that?
Yeah, exactly what we were asking. Yeah, we didn't know about that. No, Toney will play. Andy said he was close last week to practice.
Kadarius,
he's going to play. And then Smith-Schuster, it's his left knee. He will play, and Trey Smith, who's their starting right guard, will play. Willie Gay's fine. Gave him a scare with the shoulder. He'll play. So, as you said, they're all available. The only one who's not is Hardman because he's on IR. And the good thing is we don't have, like, a lot of injured guys. Like, coming into the 17th Super Bowl, there are a lot of guys who are not available who are on IR. Obviously, Jason Peters, Darren Sproles. And for the Patriots in that game, they were without a bunch of players. Yep. We don't have that issue here. No team can complain now that they didn't have their key players.
No, and I really hope, and I'm sure you guys do too, that this game is played with relatively no injury. You'd hate to see a star player go out. I mean, you hate to see it anyway, but you don't want any excuses for either side. I mean, especially after what happened 2 weeks ago and what you're hearing out of the Bay Area. We just hope that this is the best 53 versus the best. Are you guys surprised by that?
All chirping.
I thought that there was a code among like 24 hours. You get it. You kind of get it out of your system, and then you just let it go.
Yeah, for them to still be crying about it is, you're really hurt. Your feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to go ahead and move on, man. Start working on your handicap.
Exactly.
I know, right?
I mean, Robbie Gould. I gotta call the guy out. He's a Penn State guy, but I gotta call him out. You're a kicker.
A kicker.
You're talking junk on the Eagles, and you're a kicker.
Yeah,
Come on.
I mean, Robbie Silver. I think he gets second place if you don't make it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, I love it. Robbie Gould just became Robbie Silver. That was brilliant for second place.
And Julian Love, it's like, dude, you're basically saying the Eagles have the best roster in the National Football League.
Yeah.
So he's like, anyone could do well. Well, first of all, you're not playing anymore because you didn't do very well.
Right.
Yeah.
And the quarterback here, got the job done. That's why they're here.
Right. And by the way, if Julian and Love were correct that just having the best 53 means it's easy, then there'd be no upsets in the NFL, right?
You hear what Chase and McCaffrey said? I hope they both lose.
Did Christian McCaffrey say that?
Yeah.
I actually respect that.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Actually, no ties in the Super Bowl.
That sounds like something an Eagle fan would play if, like, Dallas and the Giants were in the NFC Championship game.
Like, how about that? The two losers. People losing.
That's too funny. All right, fellas, stop me if you've heard this before. Standing in the way of a Super Bowl title and a Lombardi for the Eagles is the best quarterback in the game, except this time, 5 years later, it's not Tom Brady. It's Patrick Mahomes. He's the league's preeminent quarterback. He just won his second MVP, and his career just started about 6 years ago. If it ended today, if Patrick Mahomes' career ended today, the resume already says he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, does he not? Does it not? When you compare him to who's already
question, because a lot of people had a problem with Terrell Davis getting in so early. He only had 4 years of productivity.
Terrell Davis.
Then he tore his ACL against the Jets, and he was never the same.
Right.
He only played 7 years.
Right.
Mahomes absolutely is in. Absolutely is in. And in fact, no one will touch Brady. If this continues what he's doing, does he have a chance to be the second best quarterback in NFL history? Yes. Yes, Peyton Manning was great. Peyton Manning was terrific. But this kid is so special. And what you and I have talked about now all season about Mahomes is when we've talked about him, so many teams are wrong. Like almost every team, except the Chiefs, of course.
It was the third quarterback taken in the draft.
Yeah.
Right? It was Deshaun. Well, I forget who the first quarterback was taken, but the second one was Deshaun Watson, and then the Chiefs moved up to get Patrick Mahomes, who they wanted all along. You guys both played with Donovan McNabb. So you know the impact that a quarterback who can move around the pocket and throw the ball really well has on both an offense and a defense. When you watch Patrick Mahomes play, what kind of stress will that put on the Eagles defense today?
Well, you know what? Because what makes Patrick Mahomes so deadly is that he just keeps the play alive, and then his receivers know how to play back a little bit because he always has that little outlet that he goes to, or else he's making those little off-time throws. But I think that with this defensive front, the way they attack, I think what you'll do, the way that you go after Mahomes is you need to layer your rushes. I don't like when the DNs kind of just rush to the quarterback and then stop. I would have one guy coming high, one on the other side coming low, and then you running stunts across the front to kind of keep him funneled into the pocket. Because one of the things Patrick Mahomes does is that he doesn't drift out of the pocket. He kind of stays up in there, and then he gets moving.
Right.
So for me, I would layer the rushes, and I think that you have a front that can get after him like that.
So I talked to a general manager about an hour ago who said that
He absolutely, and he's familiar with Philly's front, he goes, I would not blitz Mahomes at all. Keep him in the pocket, make him hold on to the football. Ton of line games.
Yeah.
Absolutely line games. You have to do that. But if you blitz him, he's also stats against the blitz are phenomenal. Do not blitz him. And he goes, Philly's line is so good and they get so much pressure. And plus the Eagles disguise a lot. They play a lot of zone.
Right.
Do not blitz or he'll tear you apart, because what happens is there's no quarterback like this that we've seen in a long time. He finds these pockets of where to step up. You think you've got him stopped, but he sees something you can't see.
Right.
He's just special like that.
So back to what Trey said about layering the rush then, and not if you're going to do that, does that, Jamaal, take away a little bit, though, of what the Eagles' strength is? Because, let's face it, Hassan Reddick blew up that play against the 49ers because he was so quick on to the quarterback. I mean, if the quarterback had pitched that ball to Debo, which was not part of the plan, there's no backside contain, Debo runs for miles, but they're such an explosive edge team. Does layering take that away a little bit?
It does, but like Pat Mahomes, he's elusive, but he's not Michael Vick elusive.
Correct.
Like you don't have to worry too much about contain, because I think with the speed of our defense, they can chase him down, but you don't want to be in that position because 9 times out of 10 he's going to throw it deep instead of running it. Right. With him, it's just, I think personally, they should just do the same thing they've been doing. Just get after him, regardless. However you've been doing it with that 4-man rush, you don't have to blitz him. I mean, given that his receivers and some of his key guys are injured. So, I mean, if you want to blitz, you can. I don't think those secondary guys are going to pick up like Hot Reza or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
honestly, without Tyreek Hill, I know that Andy will get more because he's running so much 12 personnel this season. but you're not worried about, other than Kelsey, of course, who's marvelous. Those receivers don't scare anybody.
No, they don't. Well, you know, maybe MVS with the speed, or not the speed, but the downplay ability that he's had throughout his year. One thing that's phenomenal on Mahomes, at 27, he's already in his third Super Bowl. He's 10-3 career in the playoffs with 32 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. I mean, like some guys play their entire, in the playoffs. Wow. 32 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, averaging almost 3 touchdowns a game. He's one win from tying Troy Aikman, who has 4 Super Bowl titles? He's one win from tying Troy Aikman for 12th most postseason wins by an NFL quarterback.
I will say this, though. The one time where Mahomes struggled, and to this day, even the Chiefs don't know, the second half of last year's championship game when they blew that big lead.
Yes.
He was awful.
Yeah, they sort of changed their scheme and made him hold on to the ball.
And the Bengals, Anarumo dropped 7 or 8 and made him hold on to it. He was indecisive. Right. Brings up the point. The Eagles are a heavy zone defense anyway, a little bit of man. So are you going to skies more? Because that, to me, instead of blitzing, that's what you have to do.
Well, good. I wanted to get into that because I feel like the one thing we've seen from Mahomes this year, guys, you lose a guy like Tyreek Hill, who is sort of an instant producer, and it forces you to play the game a little bit differently. You guys all just mentioned this wide receiver set, if you separate it from Travis Kelce, is not exactly the most threatening receiver set. However, Mahomes just had his best year passing, highest completion percentage of his career. I think second most passing yards. He led the NFL in yards, touchdown passes, and QB rating. So when you look at also how he beat the Bengals last week, who play a similar style defense than the Bengals played the year before, have you guys seen like a maturity in his game? Do you think he's learned from his impatientness earlier, both against Tampa a couple of years ago and last year?
I mean, against Tampa, you got...
That wasn't his fault. I know he was on the run.
His line was kind of like battered and beat up.
Yeah.
He was missing both tackles. So
it was amazing that they were there.
So, yeah. And I just think he's matured to the point where he's better against the blitz. So it's like, if you don't blitz him, he'll pick you apart. If you do blitz him, I mean, I don't know, man.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, you just got to, like, outscore them, I think.
What have you seen in Mahomes?
Well, I think that he spreads the ball around a little bit more. You know, when you don't have a Tyreek Hill, when you don't have that big name out there at receiver, it makes you have to, give the ball to some of the other guys, and this offense is designed for that. And then when you have breakdowns, he's able to scramble it around, and then they get into that scramble drill, and they know where to find their little spots on the field, and he gets the ball to them. But I think that this defensive front, man, I think our secondary is good enough to hold up. Where you can give the defensive front time to get there. I think that when you have our secondary can get out there and play sticky defense and get on these guys, the person that you're going to have to worry about out there is who's going to be in charge of making sure that you keep Kelsey under control.
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's going to segue nicely into our next segment here, because every superhero needs a sidekick. For Mahomes, that obviously is Travis Kelce. He's the younger brother of Eagles center Jason Kelce. Hey, did you guys know that? They're brothers and they're playing in the Super Bowl this week? Anybody catch up on that angle?
Yeah, the banner media row had Juju Smith-Schuster instead of...
I'm glad you brought it up because people are getting tired of me. So at Radio Row in the convention center, where we're set up all day, there's an enormous banner. I mean, it's got to be as big as our set here at Rivers, right? And there's Jaylen Hurts and Jason Kelce representing the Eagles on one side of the banner, Patrick Mahomes and Juju Smith-Schuster representing the other side of the banner for the Chiefs. Why Juju Smith? Listen, I have nothing against Juju.
Who did that?
Nice player. But you got Travis Kelce, you can have Frank Clark. I mean, there's a couple other guys.
It's Creed Humphrey at least.
Right. He's still center in there, right?
There you go. There you go. So anyway, obviously the Kelce brothers, it's a big subplot. His parents were all over Radio Row. We had a chance to sit down with Ed Kelce and have a really great conversation with him. That's the father. It was up on our Patreon channel. So if you want to be a subscriber, that's patreon.com/InsideTheBirds to catch our interview with Ed Kelce. Thomas Dimitroff, the former Falcons general manager, was really good on how the Eagles were built and working with Howie as he's done in the past. So good stuff there on our Patreon channel.
Story about him and Tom getting into it about Howie's trade offers.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to tell you. It's hilarious. It's typical of Howie, but it's all good.
So Travis Kelce has had 3 of the 5 best seasons ever by a tight end. If you go look at the best season ever receiving yards by a tight end, Travis Kelce, number 1, 1,416 yards. That was a couple years ago. Then George Kittle, then Mark Andrews, and then the next two are Travis Kelce with 1338 and 1336. So 7 times in his career and 7 straight years he's gone over 1,000 yards. So if you want a perspective, the only other tight ends who have even had 4,000-yard seasons are Gronk, Tony Gonzalez, and Jason Witten.
Wow.
All right? This guy's had 7. Those guys all had 4. And this guy's probably going to play like 3 or 4 more years. 7 in a row.
Yeah.
7 in a row.
So they have like 2 zero-ballot Hall of Famers over there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 2 first-ballot Hall of Famers.
That's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. And both of them are probably going to keep playing for 4 years.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Now, you guys play in a different era, so you might say, you know what, Travis Kelce don't have to block anybody compared to maybe Witten or Tony Gonzalez or maybe even Gronk. But either way, that's a pretty impressive stat.
They didn't, but I mean, hey man, tight ends are small receivers anyway, so
They are.
we don't really
They
care
are.
about blocking.
Witten had a block. Gonzalez maybe 50% of the time, right?
Yeah.
Right. And Gronk could block.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good.
Absolutely.
He could really block.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so we know he's a wide receiver, but here's what I want to ask you guys, because I want to see if you've ever seen something like that in your career. When we were down in Radio Row, you know, the fans always say if you just take Travis Kelce away from the game, then it should be easy. And our counter to that is, well, I'm pretty sure every defensive coordinator every week says that, and yet the guy still finishes with 8 to 10 catches, 100 yards, touchdowns. A lot of the people who watch his tape, Jason Avant, for example, said that he freelances within the route concept, making it very difficult for defenders, even good defenders, to really know where he's going to be. And obviously, that can only work if your quarterback is lockstep. Is that a new wave? I've never heard of someone who's done that before.
I wouldn't say it's a new wave. It's kind of how the Chiefs run their chaotic offense. Like Trey was alluding to it earlier when, you know, he's back there scrambling around. That's the norm for them. Like him scrambling, that scrambling drill, I'm quite sure they have like several plays out of that.
Sure.
You know, so you know, when stuff breaks down, they have this, I guess, you know, this connection, tight end and quarterback, where they just know where each other's going to be. And
Right.
They seem to always make that connection.
Tyreek Hill also had that with him, the scramble drill.
Sure.
Incredible.
Sure.
Incredible. Kelsey has it. They mirror each other very well.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard of sight adjustments, right? When a corner is playing or a safety is playing a certain leverage to try to get you to go a certain direction, you see that and you try to run a different type of route. The way they described it with Kelsey, though, isn't just sight adjustment. It's almost like trying to play head games with the corner or the safety or whoever's defending them. Do you remember any Eagles being really good at that?
No.
Because I just felt like when Andy ran his offense here, it was like you're supposed to run the routes this way and that way.
I had my hands full, so I don't remember if we had anybody that
It wasn't
like
just Avant. One of the current or former players said the same thing about Kelsey. He freelances. He just seems to find a spot, and then he's a locomotive when he gets the football. Because that's the part about it. When you think you have the guy defended or Mahomes defended, they seem to have the synergy, and he finds a soft spot in your zone coverage.
Right.
The question is today, when they play man, how are they going to do it?
Sure. Or even this. I think you got to accept that Travis Kelce is going to have X number of catches.
He's gonna get his.
Yeah.
How important is it today for the Eagles to wrap him up at the catch point as opposed to, he shook me free, caught the ball, then turned upfield and got a little more yards?
I think that's going to be very important. You got to get him down. He's going to get his catches, but you got to get him down as soon as he does get that catch. And I think also you can't get caught up and trying to look at Patrick Mahomes scrambling in the backfield, because I think that's what a lot of defenses do. They see that things break down, and then you're watching Mahomes, but then you lose sight of Kelsey. So you all eyes need to be on Kelsey, and you let the defensive front take care of Mahomes.
And how do you coach that in practice? Is that one of those easier said than done things, or can you work on that?
Got more or less just do your job. Don't worry about, you know, the back end. Just worry about your responsibility. I mean, when that happens, like, it's hard for it to happen because most of the time you're like, all right, what is he doing? What is he going to do now? You know, everybody's looking and not actually doing.
Right.
So, you know, if they stick to their job, they'll be fine.
I imagine a guy like Ian Book, who's been the Eagles' third quarterback all year, who can run around and move. He did that a lot at Notre Dame. And maybe someone like Jack Stoll, who I don't know if you normally have your backup tight end on the scout team, but maybe for
Ian
this,
Book did.
for this,
confirm that.
He did say that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's something that, you know, those guys wore those pennies and we're trying to emulate to get the Eagles defense accustomed for it.
Well, Book can run around and scramble. He's a pretty good athlete, but the thing is the unpredictability of it. I guess they just tell them to run around. I don't know how they do it. So give us an idea, guys. When you're running scout team, and the backup quarterback will try to mimic, how much can a backup quarterback really do that, though?
That's tough. I mean, we had. Who did we have doing that? I don't know. It's been a while.
Coy Detmer wasn't running around left and right?
Running around.
I mean, they try to give you a little taste of what. I mean, of course, they could never be that particular player because if they were, they would be, you know. But they try to give you a little something, and especially at this point in the season, anyway, you're not going full tilt.
Yeah.
You know, everything is just kind of like, all right, you guys, hey, we're going to get to these areas, and you kind of work your way through it. But I think it's just going to be more on, hey, you know, as whoever is in charge of the Kelsey or whoever your defensive front, look, y'all stay after him, and whoever is on the second level, you guys make sure that you keep eyes on your receivers or whoever you have to cover, so that you don't get caught up in looking at the quarterback. Because once you do that, then he'll light you up.
One question in terms of practice: do you recall the Super Bowl year? How much you were in pads late in the season?
Oh no, pass. I mean, maybe
Big Red, he take the pass off of like week 10, 12, and it's just.
They were actually in them. Sirianni said like a week ago, but only once in like several weeks.
When they played, though, you guys were in pads way more often earlier because there was no limit, if I remember. Now you're only allowed
a certain amount,
like 14 padded practices a year, right? So they do it. I believe it's less than 17.
Like the first 4 practices, like a training camp.
And by the way, that's hilarious. How long were the regular season practices?
Man, Wednesday practice was about an hour to 2. It was about 2 hours for the Wednesday practice. Yeah. Thursday's practice was a little longer. Because we had nickel. And Wednesdays and Thursdays we were all full pass.
All full pass. Yeah.
And it was let's get it.
Thursday was
907.
A training camp practice.
Oh yeah, man, 907 1-on-1 pass rush. Yeah. We got after it. On Wednesdays and Thursdays. Fridays were the only days that I was like,
you dial it back. But it's we had that like the first 3 days of training camp. It was like 14 padded.
I was about to say, should I get you guys started on Lehigh?
Yeah, it's bad, man. But that's good, man. I like how they take care of the players, man.
Yeah. Do you think that? I mean, a little off topic, but very understandable. Some people have wondered if the Eagles are sort of setting a template this year. Not the Eagles, but per se, Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh for veterans who still can play, want to ring chase a little bit, but don't mind sitting on the couch for September and October 1st. That hasn't been something you've seen a lot of, but this year more than ever, or even I think even last year, a couple of veterans signed like that. But
well, it's changed over years. Like we were talking about the practices and whatnot. Like when you have 14 total padded practices, guys can start working out in like October to get ready for December.
Right.
You know, so it allows for more guys to like come in quicker and like get adjusted to a team.
We used to do that back in the day with Tim. Who was it? Tim, that used to play safety for us?
Houck.
Jim Johnson would bring in?
Tim Houck?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Tim Houck.
Yeah, wait until training camp is over with, then we bring Tim in.
Training camp, right. Yeah, I know that game.
That is right.
That was the old game back in the 90s.
That's right.
2000s. Oh, yeah.
All right, we got
We
got some score predictions coming in on YouTube. Ron K says the Eagles win 30-20. Stephen Calhoun, Eagles 31, Chiefs 27. Hassan Reddick will be Super Bowl MVP. I have a feeling if it's 31-27, it's going to be hard for a defensive player to win MVP.
Yeah, but maybe might be good.
Perhaps. Right? Well, he wasn't MVP though. It might have been the most important play.
To get it.
But he didn't get MVP. Eddie Garcia, our friend, says Eagles 24-21. Sadev Ochir Seren Analt says Eagles win 31-17. And if I pronounce that correct, I deserve some kind of award, some kind of Emmy, I think. Richard Schaefer, 38-17 Eagles. And Mint Diggity says 37-29. Yeah. Hey, that's one of those scores you always make fun of me for.
Mostly high scoring.
All right, mostly high scoring. All right, we were talking about pass rush. The Eagles have neutralized good offenses all year long with an overwhelming pass rush that resulted in a franchise most 70 sacks. Clearly, there are matchups that favor the Eagles today in this game. The Chiefs have a good offensive line, but if you're going to pinpoint one area where they've had to compensate, it's at tackles. Right tackle Andrew Wiley, left tackle Orlando Brown, who's more of a better run blocker than he is pass blocker. So Trey, I mean, you got Hassan Reddick lined up over one of them. You got Josh Sweat lined up over the other. You got Brandon Graham ready to come off the bench. This has got to be the area where the Eagles win. This has to be their advantage, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I went back and I watched the way Orlando Brown sets. If I was Hassan Reddick, man, I would be licking my chops, ready to go. Because, I mean, you know.
Yeah, go explain into that.
He does, his feet are a little off. You know, he kind of gets where he takes his step and then he has his inside foot kind of overcompensates a little too much. I mean, he looks like you can beat him inside whenever you want to. You can bull rush him just because of his feet. You know, and to me now, he is a bigger guy. So you would want to chase him, but I would give him edge and then try to take him inside a couple times.
So you match speed versus girth, I guess, in that regard.
Yeah, because I mean, and I think Hassan Reddick, the way he rushes, it is perfect for someone like Orlando Brown.
And then if you were to switch Josh Sweat over Wiley, that's just a really good pass rusher versus a guy who struggles in pass pro.
Because Josh Sweat is a really good edge rusher as well. He's going to use his length, and he's going to take the edge, and then he's also good at when he has to run games as well. Just because he's been that guy when they run those TEs, and he's coming back around taking over the center and coming up the middle of the defense. I mean, he'll eat you up like that as well.
I talked to an offensive line coach this morning who said Orlando Brown would not start for his team, and his left tackle's pretty good.
Yeah.
But he goes, he doesn't see him as a starting left tackle.
Yeah.
The funny thing is,
kind of surprising, but okay.
Didn't he turn down an offer from the Chiefs in the offseason? I don't know if he's on the franchise tag, but he's on the last year of his deal, if I'm not mistaken.
And remember, he wanted to play left tackle, not right.
Yeah.
The Ravens moved him. But, yeah, as you and I talked this week, the more people we talk to, the less people liked Orlando Brown. And Andrew Wiley should not be starting. He's okay. He's serviceable. He's a guy that is going to get beat today. And this is what I was saying this GM said. You don't have to blitz. They're not good at tackle. They're very good in the interior. Creed Humphrey. Kelsey's the best center in football. In the second year, he might be one of the top three. He's that good. Toney's a stud. But you could get them. You could edge them. They're not very good at tackle.
And another thing I noted, because I know Andy Heck, who's the offensive line coach there. I played under him when he was in Jacksonville. And I even went out to training camp with Kansas City a couple times, a couple years ago, to just kind of work with the guys a couple years ago. And some of the things that Andy Heck teaches, he teaches targeting with your outside hand. And a lot of people, some line coaches teach it where you kind of use your outside hand to try to punch the guy. To me, I would never teach that, because if you get that outside hand clean, you are
going
done.
this way.
You may as well be over there making sure the Gatorade is full, because I mean, you're going to get destroyed when you get out there and you try to shoot your outside hand, and that's one of the things that he kind of teaches.
Sure. So Andy Reid, we know, is a smart guy. He was criticized here at times. There are certain games that stand out that I can recall where he didn't maybe protect some linemen when they really needed protection.
Yeah, he won't make the mistake of putting a tight end over Hassan Reddick. I can assure you that.
Right.
If he does, he shouldn't.
So that's what I wanted to ask you, because he's doing a couple of things differently lately, Jamal. People have said he's doing more chipping. He's playing more 12 personnel than he ever has.
In the last 7 years, he's playing way more 12, and part of it obviously is because he doesn't have Tyreek Hill anymore.
Right.
And they're not good at receivers.
Right. What would you expect that he can do from either you can't change the personnel too much. What can you do formationally and schematically to compensate for two tackles that aren't, as good as the guys going up?
They can come out and do all that trickery that they have. They do like the do-si-do or whatever kind of play they got, where they got the lineman over here, the quarterback's rolling out there, and they're pitching it to a running back. Like Big Red, his mind is just full of offensive holes, trying to find ways of beating the defense. So I'm quite sure he'll come up with something that'll neutralize the line early on, but as the game goes on, you got to play football. You got to 3 and 5 step, 7 step drop it. That's his game.
The numbers show the quick game is what gets the Eagles, because their corners are off, but they squat and sit so quickly they get up there. The Eagles are number one in the NFL about not giving up big plays, but if you look at it, and I know the tight end numbers look good, they've only faced one top 10 tight end. That's actually two. Hawkinson when he was with Detroit, but the receivers got them. And Evan Ingram, that was the rain game.
Oh yeah.
So when people want to say, the Eagles the Eagles have been great against 10. Who have they faced? They faced anybody.
Right.
I think one of the things that you'll do is that you'll try to bring those receivers in to kind of make the defensive ends line up tighter to the offensive tackles, because then now that plays into their hands. Now, if you spread everybody out and those defensive ends can get, the worst The worst feeling ever for an offensive tackle is to look out there and you got a damn DN that's like 2-3 yards off from you, man. You know.
That's why they pay you guys the big bucks. You're on the island.
It's like, you're like, oh God, you cannot be laid off the ball, and especially like someone like Hassan Riddick, man.
Oh yeah, he's
that
gone.
is not what you want to see. You want to have your receivers, whatever formation that you can, to make him get closer to the offensive tackle, because then now that plays into his hands a little bit more.
So you mean to tell me that they lost Tyreek Hill, they lost all these offensive weapons, the quarterback is still the MVP, he's still at leading passes, still touchdown. How? Like, how is he doing all
A
this?
lot of manufacturing, Jamaal, of points. A lot of 12, even 13 personnel. They're playing actually 3 tight ends,
Right,
which has not been Andy's forte, because he's trying different formations. And they are, not that every team doesn't do this, but they're super big on clear-out routes because their guys cannot win. Valdez-Scantling's their big deep threat. He's going to get shot plays today. And the Eagles occasionally have struggled against big wide receivers. But they're good. And Toney, Kadarius Toney is that guy. I know he gets hurt a lot.
You mentioned the gadgets.
You mentioned the gadget plays. That's exactly what they're going to do today. You watch it. And then, of course, the shovel pass that beat the Eagles last year. Was it Jody Ford?
Oh, there'll be a shovel pass.
Of course, that was a
yeah,
staple. Yeah, we had one.
Who was the guy?
They
Who
made
did
Dust
use?
B. Westoff just to throw him in there.
Okay, right, okay. Someone's getting a shovel pass today.
Oh yeah, it was B. West all the time back in the
We
day.
ran the shuffle pass all the time. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just impressed, like how he can still be like the MVP and put up all these numbers with, like I guess like the big play guys.
But as Trey said, it's a mixture. There's like 5 or 6 guys who are going to get the ball to, but it starts with Kelsey. 87, he's going to have the bullseye on his back, and I'm really looking forward to see how the Eagles defend him.
You mentioned something about Riddick and taking advantage of aggression. I mean, does it make sense to try to target your maybe sort of delayed and misdirection runs at him to get him up the field?
He's a smaller guy. This is something we got this week. Because the Eagles get these big leads, there goes your run game. You can't do it because you don't have the time. You're always trying to come back. But he's a smaller guy, and he is getting upfield. That's the guy you're going to try to run to. With Pacheco, by the way, he is their guy. He's been a great story. He didn't have great college production, but runs well.
Pretty good.
He's strong.
Yeah.
He's strong, man. I'm kind of shocked that he was a 7th-round pick.
From Vineland, New Jersey.
Oh, wow. Is he from Vineland?
Oh, you said Isaiah Pacheco, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Who else went to his high school? Did somebody else go there?
Yeah, somebody else from the NFL has, someone prominent from Vineland area has been in the NFL. But, I mean, if you want to, Millville is close by, and that's where Mike Trout is from.
Clement, right? Well, he's from over this way.
Corey Clement's from Glassboro.
Okay, if you're in Jersey, I figured.
Juwan Johnson from the Saints, the big tight end receiver guy, is another Glassboro
who had some
kid.
big plays against the Eagles this year.
Yeah. And there's another running back from Glassboro, too, who I forget. But, the Wisconsin running back for the Colts. Jonathan Taylor. He's not Glassboro. He's further down South Jersey. But, yeah, there's a nice little pipeline of South Jersey
got some
guys.
athletes out here.
Yeah, man. It goes back to Franco Harris, right? He's another South Jersey guy. May he rest in peace.
But this is incredible. But, again, when you say, okay, well, how are they scoring? 9 receiving touchdowns from Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, when you guys watch this Kansas City offense, of course there's fundamentally things that Andy does there that he did here, but we spent a lot of time talking about once he had his divorce with the Eagles and went to Kansas City, he definitely did a soul search and decided he was going to coach a little bit differently, both schematically and also how he operated. He wasn't doing personnel anymore. But like you look at the Chiefs offense now, I don't think it's a carbon copy of what he was doing here in Philly. I mean, he was running the pistol once he got Alex Smith. I don't remember that here. I mean, he does a lot more gadgetry, I think, there than he did here.
Yeah, I think here was a true West Coast offense.
Yes, split back West Coast offense, right?
It was the split back set, and you got a tight end fullback. 2 receivers.
That's right. Andy carried a fullback for a while. I forgot about it. He still does now. Doesn't use him as much, but
that position is kind of like lost in this game. So, but yeah, I think he's matured over the years, and he's brought out some new bags that I've never seen.
Right.
Like, because he was doing plays where he would have a wide receiver screen like 10 yards up the field. And I saw him do that when they first came back here and played the Eagles his first year with the Chiefs. And they beat us I think it was like a Monday night game.
Yep.
So it's some things in there that he throws, some wrinkles that he throws in there that I've never seen before that I'm kind of impressed with.
Yeah, that Monday night game, infamous for Chip trying to swinging gate play after a touchdown that
was
massively backfired, right? I think he was trying to show up Andy in his homecoming, and that.
We forgot about Chip so fast, but he won like, what, 27, 28 games in 3 years?
Yeah,
that's not bad.
It wasn't bad. You're right.
Yeah,
it was not bad, but for the pomp and circumstance that it came in with, 0 playoff wins, that never helped him.
My bad.
But he did bring Jeff Stoutland to this franchise, though. So for that, I'm sure everybody can thank Chip Kelly.
He's been doing phenomenal with that line.
Let me ask you one question, Trey, because you throughout the years you've been on our show, you've talked about Stoutland, some of the issues that are challenges. Where are you at with Stoutland now?
I like him. I think that he's grown a lot when it comes to teaching protection. I think that's one of the things that he had to get better at as a coach. When it comes to the run game, I think that, hands down, he's the best in the game. When you're talking about getting combination blocks, working those combination blocks and getting up to the second level, that's one of the things that he spends a lot of time on in practice. But I think that he's definitely gotten better when it comes to teaching protection. Protection is it's very difficult, and when you're teaching guys how to deal with some of these rushers, you have to kind of, do some soul searching and learn from other ways, but I think he's definitely gotten better when it comes to that part of his game.
Hold that thought. We're going to get into a little bit later on line schemes and some of the things we've noticed from the Eagles for the last few weeks that I want to ask you guys about. So let's get back to, again, this Chiefs offense versus Eagles defense. If you're Jonathan Gannon today, we've all agreed you're probably not going to blitz very much because you don't blitz that much fundamentally to begin with. All right, but you do know you have a quarterback who's going to make a ton of second reaction plays and a tight end who's going to freelance. So what do you do today to try to slow down Patrick Mahomes? You have to probably, I would imagine the idea today is try to make Patrick see something different than he thinks he's seeing. Is that the goal?
Yeah. I think you still. I think the game plan is, what we've always been talking about throughout the season. You want that secondary to get up there and be a little physical. Don't play so far off so that you can allow Patrick Mahomes to take those little quick throws. You want your secondary to come in and be a little physical to kind of challenge these receivers right out the gate. And then now with the defensive front, I would like to see a little bit more NASCAR package out of there. You get BG over the defensive tackle every now and over the offensive guard every now and then, and we run some games. I like some of those 3-man games with Fletcher Cox, BG, Sweat, and then Hassan Reddick, man. And then we run some 3-man games. We run a couple ETs, TEs against this offensive line. Let's get after it.
The Eagles have been really successful, we've seen this year, running games, but they don't do it a whole lot. And I'm wondering the method behind the madness of maybe it's something that you don't want to show too much, but it's been such a good weapon for them, especially Riddick. He can 1-gap or 2-gap stunt.
You run games based off of how the offensive line sets. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to run a game against vertical setting tackles. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to run an ET versus where the end is crashing and then the end, is coming around because, they're there to kind of switch it off a lot easier. So, you have to kind of pick and choose how the offensive line sets based off of what kind of games you want to run. And I think that this team here, they've already shown that they can't handle a 3-man game where you have the defensive tackle come and a one technique come across the center, and then you had that defensive end loop all the way around. They've gotten beat with that a couple times after I was watching some of the film. So that's, how do you feel about that when it comes to it?
Like they said, like both tackles they're not great at pass protection. So, I wouldn't run as many games on them. It's just, my guy can beat your guy.
Right.
So,
straight up.
You alleviate the games and just go after that particular individual. But, as far as defensively, what are you going to do with Patrick Mahomes? You say he's Super Bowl winner, MVP, 2-time MVP, was 6-7 years. He's pretty much seen everything. He's faced Brady.
Right.
So, there's nothing you really can show him.
Okay.
Yeah, I had an offensive line coach tell me this week that 57 Orlando Brown, he said he's very sloppy with his hands.
Oof.
He guaranteed 2 holding calls today. Without blitzing.
Which is why almost maybe, to your point, Hassan Riddick, to give him that speed right away and force him into grabbing situations.
Yeah, because of what they're taught as well.
Right.
Because you're taught to target with that outside hand, and I'm telling you, a lot of you see it a lot of times with young linemen, they try to fight the edge rush with your outside hand, and that's not the right way to do it.
Right.
You should always pull outside hand out, get strong with the inside hand, because then now at least you're in bail mode already, so you're already in trouble.
Right.
But if you try to fight it with your outside hand, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to get off balance or you're going to get called for holding. So you may as well go ahead and snatch that outside hand out, get strong with the inside hand. But if you're taught to kind of target with that outside, man, it's a problem. And Hassan Riddick is the type of guy that he can give you that double hand swipe. He can attack that outside hand, and he can also go outside, give you spin move inside if you're sloppy with your feet. You know, and it's a perfect matchup against these tackles.
How about from a back end standpoint with Travis? Now, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is somebody who has played the slot. He was playing safety here, had a bunch of interceptions, came back at a time where Maddox was hurt. You saw C.J. play the slot, and I know some people think that maybe the better matchup within this framework of defense that they play is having C.J. Gardner-Johnson, when they are in man situations or man match over the middle, try to man up on Travis Kelce instead of Maddox. Is that something that you guys think would be a better idea? Especially with Maddox having a toe injury in his fight?
I would think they would stay in zone because when you play a man with Patrick Mahomes, as soon as you turn your back and those ends rush upfield, he's gone.
Even on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6?
I mean, you saw the game against the Bengals, how they win the game. He used his broken leg or whatever, and the dude pushed him out of bounds for like the personal problem. But that's one of them cases where, you know, you think he's not going to run, but as soon as you turn your back, he's gone. So you just have to like be on your, I guess, on your A game when you play this guy.
Right. So more zone today would put then C.J. Gardner back in the traditional safety spot, but that's where he's flourished this year. That's where we've seen the most playmaking from
like
him.
19 picks or something until he got hurt.
So it's like 6 picks in 8 or 9 games, which, you know, do the math on that trajectory on what he would have finished if the proportions would have stayed correctly. You're talking about
this team seems to have like a slot corner every year.
Yes.
Whether it's Maddox, what was it? LeBlanc was here before.
Avant.
Yeah. So I think they'll be fine in that spot.
Yeah. You know what I talked to last week?
Who's ever playing?
One of the OGs of the Eagles slot position.
Hansen?
Joselio Hansen. Yeah.
Dude, every time slot comes up, he's the first person I think of. Joselio.
You know, I do. Yes, although I do think, because it was untraditional, but when you guys had Rod Hood, he would come in as the outside corner, and Sheldon would move into the slot, and Sheldon was so good at playing both of those positions.
Sheldon was a good
and
player.
You know, the hit on Reggie Brown came from him in the slot.
Yeah.
Reggie no, not Reggie. I'm sorry, I said Reggie Brown. I did Reggie
Brown.
Bush.
Yes, Brown got one too.
Exactly. Different players, much different players. What do you think of the idea if they do play a little man of Gardner-Johnson on Kelsey?
I know
they're both short.
I think so, but here's the thing: Kelsey has exactly a 6-inch advantage over Gardner-Johnson based on their combine measurements.
Well, he'd have an 8-inch one over Avante Maddox.
I mean, you're not going to win to me, and Greg doesn't think they should use Kaiser White, though he's taller. It's because White's coverage numbers were not as good in the second half.
Right.
You're going to lose, but I'm with you guys. I go zone. I'm not doing a lot of man.
Zone and 4-man rush. That's
just get after it.
Recipe today.
Get after it, and then play games when if you think you can win, if you need to, do it, because those tackles are where you have to win. They're not very good. And the more we hear from people around the league, we respect coaches and front office people.
Right.
They don't like 57 at all.
Yeah. No, you're correct about that.
I'm surprised you hear that, but that's what we've been told.
I support what you guys are saying. I believe that that's probably the best tack, but this will not be the first time this Chiefs team faces a standard zone 4-man rush team. I do feel like if you're Gannon, then if you're committing to zone, you got to make the quarterback think a little bit. I mean, you may have to show like you think you're coming and then drop a lot of guys. You can't just line up, spin your safeties, and call that disguise a deception.
That's the old Spags, Jim Johnson thing. They like to show one side and then come from the other side.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this team doesn't really rely on the blitz a lot.
No. See, that's the difference, because a lot of them will play zone, and Greg Cosell and I had a conversation with this. Someone told Greg Cosell, you know, in the NFL this past week that Spags is a pain in the ass to try to game plan against. That was he's a pain in the ass because he'll show you a whole lot and then just does something different.
Pressure, yeah.
As good as Jonathan Gannon has been, and despite the criticism, the Eagles defense has been very good this year.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody says they're a pain in the ass schematically to face. Well, I think they just do what they do and execute well.
It's just because they have individuals that are very good at their spots.
Right.
The D-line, like, you can Brandon Graham has, 12, 13 sacks off the bench?
Right.
With
He's
like
the pain in
12,
the ass.
12 snaps a game?
Right.
Like, come on, man. Like,
Exactly.
So, they just have talent across the board.
All right, we have a lot more to get to. We're going to continue to discuss this Eagles defense. We're getting into Eagles offense in a second. I want to take a break to hear from our friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
Big thanks, as always, to our friends at Sky Motor Cars, sponsors of Inside the Birds and Inside the Birds pregame live all year long. If you head on out to Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam just sent you. You'll get a great deal. Want to get back on the idea of either gadgetry or expecting something that is unexpected, because I think we all agree that both of these coaches, Andy in particular, are pretty much known for trying to keep it fresh and having the certain type of players that you can use in multiple positions. Kadarius Toney, is he someone that you should be concerned about today? I mean, until he leaves the game with an injury.
Well, the worst is if they have Toney and McKinnon out in the field at the same time. Because first of all, McKinnon is deadly inside the red, particularly inside the 10. He's also really good on third down. Toney is could be a gadget guy. The reason why they traded for him was not so much about now for the offseason, because they got a lot of free agents at receiver, but he's explosive. This guy's he should look. The Giants should have taken Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is he's super explosive with the ball in his hands. He's a perfect Andy Reid guy based on what he does these days. I would be worried about him, to answer your question, sure.
When you know, the Super Bowls lately especially have been infamous for gadgetry. I don't remember if you guys did one in 2004. I'm trying to remember if there was a flea flicker or a reverse. I'm sure you guys practiced it throughout the week, maybe whether or not you called it, but.
I mean, nah.
I mean, we know about the Philly special. How do you sort of mentally as a player know that a gadget might be coming, but you can't practice against the potential of a gadget? So what is the coaching point on that?
Stay disciplined.
Okay.
You know, it's just stay disciplined. You have to work your rules. Everybody goes into the game with their rules and what you're supposed to do based off of whatever look that you get, so just stay disciplined.
And with Big Red, his gadget plays, at least with us, I think we put in a flea flicker week 2 and ran it week 9.
Yeah.
So you never know when he's going to just pull one out of the hat.
Do you practice it every week
No.
though? Or do you only practice it that week and pull it out 7 weeks
for
later?
the first 3 weeks straight. But we'll never run it in a game. Then 6 weeks later we'll run it. You'll just call it.
I mean, you look at the Super Bowl 5 years ago, okay? Or the leading up to the championship game, they did the flea flicker
to Troy Smith.
We explained it about it on our show. Then the Philly special.
Right.
You just don't know, and I think we're all right here. You know when he's going to bring it out.
Right.
He's going to show you something he hasn't run, we haven't seen. This is what all coaches do when you get to this level. What do you have in your back pocket that you haven't run? Some sort of gadget.
Right. And all these aren't just gadgets for gadgetry's sake. They're supposed to take advantage of something that you see in the opposing defense that you think you can exploit. In this regard, it might be the fact that the Eagles get upfield so quickly.
Yeah.
I know Jason Avant thinks that there's going to be a ton of screens this game to counteract some of that speed. Would you guys see that? Expect that
Well,
too?
that's something that Big Red has always had in his game plan. He's always been known for running screen plays, so I'm sure that he'll keep that going.
Right. How about Jerick McKinnon? Not necessarily a gadget player, but this is the first time I can remember Andy not having a 3-down back who can do it all. He's got this whole Patriot style thing now where you have your running back and your pass catching running back. But McKinnon had 9 touchdown catches this year. That's a lot for a guy who's
every 7 passes, 9 on 56 receptions.
Well, that has to be the highest touchdown percentage in the league, right?
63. It's actually under 7. Yeah, it's remarkable. And this is a guy who missed basically 2 seasons with the Niners due to multiple knee problems.
Right.
I give Andy credit. I mean, most people thought he was kind of done, but that's a pretty big role. And again, it was what Trey was talking about. They have so many different guys. They don't have Tyreek Hill. They have to manufacture points. And this is what you have to worry about. I've said all year, I don't know why teams don't throw at the Eagles linebackers. Very few have.
That's what I was going to ask here. With the threat of McKinnon and what they do over the middle of the field, Is a 5-1 front today, which you see a lot from the Eagles, with Edwards as your only linebacker, sort of a dangerous calculation?
I honestly, I didn't hear what you said.
5-1 front. Is a 5-1 front more dangerous than being in nickel or having a 5-2 and fewer defensive
And having
backs?
T.J. Edwards on a 5-1 be your single linebacker.
I mean, he's not really a coverage linebacker. I mean, the Edwards kid, but I mean, I would want to stay in nickel just because of the threat of throwing it to the running back. And with a guy, McKinnon, having 9 touchdowns, you said?
Yeah.
Receiving touchdowns? I mean, he's just taking up for the slack that Hill, that his production would have accounted for. And, Big Red, he's known to feature the running back in the passing game.
Yeah.
You look at Brian Westbrook.
Right.
It was the same thing.
Right.
So,
that's what's so weird about this team, right? It went from Deuce to Westbrook to Staley, to Shady, and then even when he got to Kansas City, he had Jamal Charles, who was one of the best
Right.
This is like the first time I can remember, and I think it's because it didn't work out with Clyde Edwards-Helaire the way he wanted, that he's kind of had to use this dual running back system of one guy runs and one guy catches.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked out for them up to this point.
Yeah,
They're
basically
Super Bowl,
he's figured out a way to make it work out, right? All right, so the gadgetry is definitely something we'll have to take a watch for, and I think McKinnon today could be a real X factor for them, especially the way the Eagles play defense. They're going to have to be on. So is it your linebackers or is it almost your corners have to also be looking at the quarterback in a zone structure to make sure that if the ball goes to the running back, they come off their man to make the tackle, right?
Well, I think even if you go with that 5-1 front, I mean, one of your 5 down is going to be a linebacker anyway. So I think one of their responsibilities will be if that running back gets out of there, then now you got to
go.
Right. So that's pretty much still, if you really break it down, it's still a nickel front.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
It's like what they call it, dog, when the running back checks like he's gonna block and then he goes out.
Yeah.
So
runs with him.
Yep.
So I could see that being a situation where if you have that 5 down front, if it's a Riddick or even whoever you put over there, if you say, okay, your responsibility is if that running back stays in, you go.
You go.
If he goes out, then you gotta
go out. Right.
Yeah. All right. Great stuff, fellas. We're going to transition, talk about this Eagles offense against the Chiefs defense in hour 2. First, we're going to take a break to hear from our friends at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook.
Game night for me is every night. At the place where I meet up with the guys, grab a cold one, and watch the big game on the big screen. So whether it's the money line, the pass line, or a parlay, I'm in it to win. This is my city, and this is my place.
All right, big thanks to our friends at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook, now the 2-year long-standing host site of Inside the Birds Pregame Live. We really appreciate everything Rivers has done from us. This is the premier place to come. Watch games, place your wagers, enjoy the food and drink specials. They've been great to us, so we just wanted to say, we can say with official this time that this will be the final pregame show of the season, which is sad for us, but it has been a fantastic season, and everybody has come down here. People have watched the show here, watched the games, taken advantage of all the great food and drink specials at Jack's Bar and Grill. You know, the easy peel shrimp, the bottomless nachos and chips and salsa, and they played the games, the home field advantage game, the spin to win contest. There's always great things going on at Rivers, and I'm sure even after the Super Bowl, they will continue.
Look at the sports book. I mean, TV's everywhere, but as you said earlier in our
The
show,
new video games too?
Yep, the big video boards. It's phenomenal. Yeah, it's such a great area because it's so centralized in the middle of the sports book. I love it.
Absolutely. Now, if you want to make a bet, you come down here to Rivers Casino and Sportsbook, or you place a bet on the Bet Rivers app. The Eagles are 1.5-point favorites over the Chiefs. That line has not moved a whole lot since it got a little screwy since it first came out. It has not moved a whole lot. The over-under is 51, which that feels right to me, although every time, you know, the Big Red's in a game, you think that it's going to be like in the 60s or something. And the way the Eagles have scored this year too, I would, if I was going to err, I would err on the over instead of the under. We'll get to our score predictions a little bit. But it's crazy that the Eagles are 1.5-point favorites, and yet, like, you still get the feeling around Philly that people are disrespecting the Eagles. This just goes to show, even Vegas acknowledges the Eagles are the better team here by a little bit.
Yeah, but for us, man, all the fans, we're like, man, we're going to blow this team out.
Right.
Oh,
Everybody is just so
50-12.
they're overly confident that we're going to just go in and just run ruckshop over these people. It's like, dude, they got like a quarterback that didn't have a leg two weeks ago and still finished the game. Like, come on, man, it's gonna be a tough game.
I mean, if you look at their losses, they haven't lost by more than 4 points. I mean, it's hard to beat this team.
It is. It's hard to pull away, especially. All right, which makes some of the scores that are in now from our YouTube watchers pretty interesting. Carl Stevenson says Chiefs 20, Eagles 31. He did a Caplan right there, giving the losing score first. David LePray Jr. 34-17 Eagles. James Murray says Go Birds 31-22. Sean Tysa says Philadelphia 34, Kansas City 24. Tommaso 38-20 Eagles. I have not yet seen a Chiefs score here.
Oh, Jeff
Nobody
Schwartz
has yet.
chimes in. He picked the Chiefs.
Jeff Schwartz, former Chiefs offensive lineman, did pick the Chiefs to win the game.
Brother
yes,
Mitchell.
brother of Mitchell Schwartz.
Yeah.
Also, oh wait, Mitchell was the former.
Mitchell,
brother of former Chiefs offensive lineman Mitchell Schwartz. All right. Let's get back to the breakdown. I want to get back to the fact that this 53 that the Eagles have has been a very unique and special one. A lot of it goes back to the offseason and Howie's ability to really hit on free agency and trade targets, which we know every year can be very dicey. But guys like A.J. Brown, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, James Bradbury, Hassan Reddick, I mean, the hit percentage is as close to 100% as you can get. In fact, we talked about it with former Eagles Director of Player Personnel, Lou Riddick, down on Radio Row this past week, and I wanted to play what Lou Riddick had to say about the Eagles.
It's like Philadelphia probably has the best team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really argue that 1 through 53 as far as the strength that they have and the amount of strength that they have. That offensive line that they have right now, you're seeing, look, a couple of years ago, there were people talking about maybe Jason's done, Kelsey.
Yeah.
Maybe he's seen his best day. What he's doing now, I'm going, what the hell is going on with him? How is he lifting people off the ground like this?
Healthier.
How is he knocking Nick Bosa? I mean, he just hits him upside the head. Nick Bosa buckling like somebody hit him, with a Mike Tyson left cross. The way Lane is playing, the way Isaac is playing, the way Jordan is playing. I mean, these guys look unstoppable.
Right.
The pass rush. You have 8 guys. They just roll them through there. That was something that Andy always wanted to do in Philly. He always wanted all the pass rush.
Yeah.
So they're still, I mean, the blueprint is still there that maybe Andy constructed years ago. That team's scared. And then offensively, Jason, look, you know this better than anybody. How cool would it be to be on an offense that can beat you however they want to beat you? If you want to go ahead and sell out to take away one thing, well, that's cool. We're just going to go to over here now. We're just going to throw it all over the place.
Yeah.
You want to keep the lid on it? Well, then we're going to kill you by death by 1,000 cuts. So we're going to run the ball. And that's like the worst way to die in football. Just to have the ball run on. And they know they can do however you want. They're just going to come out there and go, tell us what you want to do. You're going to bring the safety down, you're going to leave him back. Just tell us what you want. Tell us how you want it.
All right, that was former Eagles Director of Pro Personnel, let me get that right, Director of Pro Personnel, Lou Riddick, who was also with Washington's front office and is now all over ESPN doing pro football, college football. In fact, he's going to be broadcasting the Super Bowl today with Dan Orlovsky and Steve Cohen Steve Levy, right, thank you, to Indonesian audience. It's that Australia and Indonesia area, which, Australia's got to be checking in today, right?
Yeah.
Jordan Mailata?
Yeah, you got Jordan Mailata.
And the punter.
Didgeridoo's going.
Suppose, right?
And Sipos, the punter, yeah.
Because you pointed out already.
Yeah, I have a didgeridoo.
You have a didgeridoo?
Yeah.
Do you play it?
Every now and then.
Do you play it well?
No.
All right. You need to get lessons.
I'm confused.
There in Jacksonville.
I don't even know what the hell that is.
Yeah, so
You might be watching, remember Kangaroo Jack from the WWF?
Yes, Kangaroo, of course.
You wrestlers.
All right.
Wrestling fans.
Didgeridoo, dude.
What Lou was basically saying, fellas, was that you look at this 53, and there's no accident why the Eagles are here. And the funny thing is, last Super Bowl was known for a great team that had a lot of adversity at the end of the year, and then out came the dog mess, right? The disrespect, nobody believes us, we're not favored to win against Atlanta in the divisional round. Unfortunately, this team, as much as they love that angle, can't play that card.
No, you can't. No
They
way.
tried.
No,
They're trying, but they
You're
can't.
undefeated for like 90% of the damn season. No, you're not underdogs. Trust me, you're the favorites.
Does that? I kind of wonder how that plays for them, because they're so accustomed to wanting to be the team that has to fight and climb uphill. You know.
I think the whole underdog mentality, it represents how the city is. You know, everybody's just hard working, lunch pail, just bring their lunchbox to work and just go to work. And that mantra mentality kind of like
Right.
helped them. It catapulted them to the Super Bowl in 17. You can't use that this year.
I mean, heaven forbid if the Eagles go on a Patriots-like run, because I just don't know how we would deal with that as a city. You know, like all this
Expectation.
winning and fun and not being disrespected and all
And
that.
honestly, there are only 3 starters from the 17 team. We're starting now for them.
True.
So I don't think it even matches up. And again, this is the first time Mahomes is an underdog
Right.
in any playoff game.
Right.
It kind of tells you about his grade.
How will Andy use this, by the way? Because he's also accustomed to being a favorite in a Super Bowl. You guys remember 2004? I'm pretty sure the Patriots were favored in that game. Does Andy, who's kind of seen publicly as stoic and maybe not reserved, does he ever use some of that motivational stuff? Because Belichick uses it, and I think people were surprised by that.
I don't think Andy gets into all of that.
No,
you know,
not at all.
Some coaches use that as a motivation, but I think Coach Reid is more into, just getting his guys ready to go and having them focused on the task and not having to use outside.
He was
distractions.
bulletin board material. Like he never brought that up.
Okay.
That wasn't his thing. Like,
Interesting. Avant thought he might for this game,
like,
which I thought was interesting. He might step out of character and use that like nobody believes in you. You're not the favorite.
Yeah,
this is what they're saying.
That was never his speech or approach to us.
Right.
Like Big Red was like, like the CEO of a company. Like he just laid it out for you. Like, and he never used like the other teams what they said in the media. To like get us riled up.
When you say he would lay it out for us, what would he key on?
Balling up our energy, and also once the game started, letting our personality show. That was his message the whole week. Every time.
That was always
That's
Big
what he
Red's
said
message
too.
Yes.
Let your personality show. Just do your thing. Focus on what you need to do as a player, not trying to bring all of that outside distraction. And then whatever your leaders are on your team, they're the ones that's going to be the voice of, hey man, you know what? They don't. I'm pretty sure that's going to be Travis. That's going to be using that energy to try to bring it into the locker room.
It took me years to actually figure out what that meant. Like, let your personality show and all that. And
What did you think he meant by it?
Well, because during the week, Big Red, he's back there watching practice and he's jotting down notes or whatever. And, when we're at practice and going back and forth with one another, you're in your comfort zone. Like, you can do anything, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted you to do on the field. Like, just let your personality show, like just let it all hang out. Because when you're in practice, and you're going back and forth and it's intense and all, like he sees that.
Right.
So he wants you to follow some of that energy up. It's just use it on game day.
So, like I used to wear a leather football helmet around the meeting rooms all the time, So I had
I love it.
Like I had a leather football helmet that I would walk around all the time in, and just be in the meetings with a leather football helmet, and it was okay, He was like, all right, cool, We had this little joke that we would, it was stupid, but I mean, we would slap stuff out of people's hands while they eat,
Sure. You don't need that.
Yeah, and then slap it out of your hand, like we did.
For Andy to help me.
Yeah.
Oh no, Big Red was coming. That thing.
We slapped a cookie out of Mr. Lurie's hand one time.
He did that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I feel like
He was telling us a story about some gypsies, and we slapped the cookie out of his hand. And then, he didn't bring me back the next year. I think.
That was
pissed off about that.
You don't touch the billionaire, dude.
Let me ask you this, though. Now, let's say a practice was bad. Would he get after you guys?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
He
How would he
stopped
do it?
practice. Oh, he stopped plenty of times. If we mess up a play, a snap, whatever. Normally practice would just go because we're on a schedule. And he'll stop everything, and he'll pull this person out, pull that person out. Hey, you get in for him, get in. They don't want to play, get him up out of here. Like he would, if the practice was bad, he'd get pissed. Yeah, you don't want to see Big Red, man.
What would the tape study be when it was a bad game? Like, how would he handle you guys in tape study?
Well, that was like the individual coaches.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like
gotcha.
one, They make it seem like you don't know what a football is. You've never played football before. Like the stuff that you guys hear, like on, like I guess the media or the TV, is nowhere near as clean as that.
I'm sure.
It's bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, and then like with Juan, you know, if there was something that was messed up, like we're going to be the first on the field.
Oh yeah.
You're going to be the first on the field. You're going to be the last one off the field. And when you're supposed to, like when the offense doing their drill, then the defense, the starting defense, they over there chilling. When the defense is up, the starting offensive line, we're off to the side doing drill, whatever work that needs to continue to be worked on. And, you know, and Juan was like, look, man, you know, if you mess it up, then we're going to have to work it out. So, I mean, and that's just how
he
he
had
did
that,
it.
you know, just call it what it is, man. He was a Mexican. He loved to work. That's just how he is. I mean, that's what he said, man. He's, hey, man, Jack, we Mexican.
All right.
That's what he said. So I'm like, all right,
Question. In game, okay, now there's this famous video, and he's like, play, because maybe you guys were screwing up. Would he get on you in games?
I've had Coach Reid get on me before in a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I messed up something, and he came over and was like, he kind of got into me a little bit about what I did, you know, and as well as you could. You take it and all right, cool. Let me fix it and get out there. But for the most part, he wants you to just, because if you go out there and you're afraid to make mistakes, then you're gonna make mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, you want to just go out there and play, and it's only happened like maybe once or twice that he had to do that to me. But you know, because when you played with someone for so long, you don't want to let them down. So you want to do everything that you can to kind of keep that from happening.
Mine was more mental. We played Minnesota in the one playoff game where Westbrook had the long return or whatever screen, and Todd blocked Kevin Williams on my ankle, so I turned my ankle before halftime. Ooh. So in the third quarter, I'm limping around trying to block.
Kevin Williams is a great 93. He was a great player.
He's pretty good. Yeah, he's a good guy. So we're walking back to the huddle, and Big Red yells at Todd. He was like, Todd, tell your mom stop limping. I want to kick his ass. I'm like, whoa, why are you saying that? I'm hurt. Todd comes back in the huddle. Hey, man, Big Red, he say stop doing that shit. So, all right, cool. It was more mental with me.
Gotcha. Yeah. I always know when you say, Andy says, let your personality show, just don't talk trash about the other team's cornerbacks at Super Bowl Media Day.
Yeah.
Then you're Freddie Mitchell and you're almost sent home.
That's my guy.
I know, we love Freddie.
What was the background on that? What I forget.
Freddie was talking trash about the New England Patriots cornerbacks at the big media day on Monday.
Do you remember?
I don't remember. This is like 20 years ago.
You weren't getting good, or what?
No, he didn't know the names. They were in his hands, whatever told him.
Yes. Yeah, you know, in a very Freddie Mitchell way.
Yeah.
You know?
Belichick crushes him on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
After they won.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about wide receivers not named Freddie Mitchell, because it's been a quiet postseason so far for one of the Eagles' biggest star receivers, and that's A.J. Brown, of course, after having the most receiving yards of his career, almost 1,500 yards, which for an Eagles wide receiver is unbelievable. He's seen modest production throughout the postseason, just 7 catches for 50 yards in 2 games. Adam, I know that there's been a lot of running, so it hasn't called for it, but the biggest surprise is that he's averaging just 7.1 yards per catch, which is 10 yards below his season average. So again, I know it's just 2 games and there's context to it, but don't you feel like today has to be for the Eagles to accomplish what they want, a big A.J. Brown day?
Yes. Yeah. It's funny you say that. We'll get into that before we end the show, when we're headed here, but this is a game where when they throw it, they're going to go after Trent McDuffie's a smaller corner. They're very young at corner. It's the youngest they've been at corner over the last couple of years. They don't have anyone over like 3 years in. Mm-hmm. And A.J. Brown, when you decide you want him to get to football, you think a guy who's 5'10" is going to handle A.J. Brown?
Right.
Particularly on crossers, where he uses those arms to leverage. Mm-hmm. How many times have we said they all bounce off of him because he's too strong?
Right.
So yeah, I'm agreeing with you. This is going to be A.J. Brown game.
Yeah.
I wish he kind of like, put in his mind that he used to play for the Chiefs, because man, he crushed the Titans.
He has played against the Chiefs when he was with the Titans, right?
Yeah, his last game was actually really big against them.
Yes, it was. He's had a huge game.
He had 3 touchdown catches against the Titans?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I was at that game. It was a blowout.
So just for perspective, guys, if you look at the Eagles receiving leaders right now in the postseason, Dallas Goedert leading the way, 10 for 81. Devontae Smith, 8 for 97. Brown is third with 7 for 50. So there's a big gap between Devontae's 97 yards, Brown's 50, and Kenny Gainwell is right behind with 35 yards. If the Eagles are going to be prolific, though, doesn't A.J. Brown have to be a main factor? Does he have to be the main factor for the Eagles to be prolific?
Not necessarily, man. Because Devontae Smith is, Slim Reaper is coming up there too.
Yeah,
I think A.J. Brown is definitely going to get his touches. But, man, you got a receiver core that either one of these guys could go off. As long as you have Dallas Goedert that's out there that can be your X factor in the middle, I think that when you have with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith out there, man, either one of those guys can go off and can have a big day for you.
Do you think there's been a little bit of a change? At the beginning of the year, A.J. was having an unbelievable year. He had a great year. Yeah. But it seemed like when Goedert came back from the injury, when Goedert was out, you saw Devontae get more involved. Mm-hmm. When Goedert came back, I think we all thought that maybe a byproduct would be maybe Devontae Smith goes back to being third in the order. But I feel like as the season progressed, Devontae Smith came into his own. And he's actually a little bit more reliable of a pass catcher. Would you guys both agree? He does not have those drops that you see AJ have?
I like it. I actually love his game because he's, like you said, he's reliable. And, he gets that much needed separation. AJ Brown, he's a beast. But he doesn't have that home run speed.
Right.
He doesn't have that breakaway. He always get caught from behind, so to speak. But I think you just know what you have in him. That's your $100 million receiver. Mm-hmm. And, when the time comes, he'll get his quick slant or fade because that's just what they do with him.
And obviously they've got some good matchups today. We noted McDuffy, Trent McDuffy is a rookie. He's 5'10".
Right.
L'Jarius needs a little bit taller, more
He's
physical.
Their slot corner.
Right. And their other outside corner is usually
Jaylen Watson. Josh Williams is a taller corner, but
it's young. It's
a
young
though. That's the
corner.
Point. Exactly. This is a group that's very young. I'm going after them. The Chiefs aren't a great run defense. P. Ryan had over 100 yards. He's not explosive at all. Wow. So again, the Eagles could do it like Lou Riddick was telling us this week. Whatever the Eagles decide to do, they're going to be successful. This is not a great defense. Sometimes could be stingy, and they're also very rarely in boxes bigger than 7. They don't load the box up.
Right.
They're going to play a lot of nickel, a lot of 4 corners, 5 corners.
Right. So if that's the case, I'm looking at the two gentlemen in front of me, and I think I already know the answer. If I say, is this a game where the Eagles come out heavy passing or a game come out with a good dose of the run, what do you think they would do? What would you guys do? I imagine you guys might say run because of the nature of your positions and what you guys like to do.
I got cursed out saying run it.
No, man, you're allowed to have that opinion on this show. It's okay. But not honestly, though, strategically, because they're in nickel and they're young in the, does it make sense to start?
Of course.
Pound it right away?
If you're playing nickel, that means that we got a 6-man box. You can eat that up all day. Mm-hmm. With a 6-man box. Yeah, because now you got 5 offensive linemen, and especially the way they run these zone reads. Now that makes that either that backside defensive end or the backside linebacker has to be right. And if not, you getting good push up the field. I take they play nickel, man. You run all day.
You got you got 3 on 5 until you get to the second level?
Yeah. I get the running back to the safety clean.
They're one of the Jamaal. They're one of the worst teams at yards after contact. The Chiefs are because they don't load the boxes up. So running backs generally have more room to run. It's yards before first contact. That's an interesting point because when the Eagles run it, they're going to be successful, particularly with Sanders and explosive plays, and Gainwell too. I don't know if it's going to be a Gainwell game, but when they run it, they're going to do well.
And they do a good job of combo blocking.
Yeah,
they're best in the league that tag team blocking. But it's going to be. If they can run the ball like that, man, 6-man box, I'm running it like 50, 60 times a game.
Coach Sal, now, I'm telling you, man, he spends a lot of time on combination blocks, and one of the things that he teaches is a flipper technique, and it's where he wants you to kind of keep your arm straight and just kind of flip it up in there. Like when we used to work it with Juan, he would always teach us to kind of punch with your, working. If we're going, let's say if I'm the left guard and we're working to the right, and the 3 technique is this microphone, I want to step and punch with my inside hand, and then the tackle is going to come up in there. Stoutland teaches where he wants you to come in with a flipper, and he wants you to flip that arm in there. Then at first, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm feeling that. But, man, once you see it and it works, it does open the shoulder of that defensive tackle. And then the tackle comes in and takes over it, and then now the guard is off to the linebacker. So it is very effective. Like when you go to the practices and you see that sled up against the wall, that's all they do, and they sit in there and they work that flipper technique, and it's very effective.
Yeah, and let's be real, this Chiefs defensive front is not as good personnel or statistically as the one they just saw 2 weeks ago, San Francisco's front, which is excellent. So if you can execute simple inside zones and blow the guy off the ball against the 49ers, you would think you could have that kind of success against the Chiefs, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I also think, with even dating back to when we played, the Eagles always done a good job of identifying, I guess, the best rusher on the line and neutralizing him. Like they did that last week against both sides. I don't think he sniffed the quarterback. And then everybody's on the line is a Pro Bowler / All-Pro alternate. So they gonna have the Chiefs defensive line gonna have their hands full.
What do you think some of the things the Eagles will try to do today to be fresh offensively and probably mix the passing run? We know they come out passing when they sense opportunities. We just talked about, despite maybe some invitations to run, there's going to be invitations to throw the ball against those corners. So are we talking maybe show some 12 personnel early, pass out of it, no huddle, gadgetry? What do you think? Because Nick has kept it fresh all year long.
I think the no huddle is definitely going to be mixed into their game plan. That's always been something that once they get something going, they like to keep it moving.
Right.
As far as the personnel packages, I think that one of the things that Coach Sirianni and his offensive staff has done a really good job at is just keep coming with certain different things to keep defensive coordinators on their heels. Just because, it's always been something different, but it's always been more on the short yardage stuff, like where you got that, here comes the quarterback sneak, no, it's a pitch, so I think that they'll mix some of that into their game plan. But I think you're good enough at what you do already that you don't really have to come with anything that's too new.
Right. Yeah. You just accentuate what you do well, maybe add in a little bit of this so they don't get used to it.
With Nick, it's more of the intangible that he's the aggression that he has.
You like that?
I like it because the quarterback is even keel, where the coach is all over the place.
Yeah.
It's usually the opposite, but
right.
I like this dynamic. It's working for him.
Yeah,
4th and 6, we're going for it.
Let's sneak it from the 9, okay?
It's cool. We're good. Don't worry about it.
All right, I want to talk about that quarterback. He is cool as a cucumber. We'll get to him in a second. First, I want to remind everybody watching to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with all of their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com. And on Twitter, it's at PHLSportsNation. Now, one area that we've heard some concern about, maybe from fans or emails, that I don't think you and I are concerned about it, and I'll ask you guys, is this whole idea of Jaylen Hurts playing in his first Super Bowl and the deer and the headlights element that might come with it. There are some players that I wonder about, but this man has been on a national stage in college football, which has an enormous audience nationwide, all the eyes of the world. He's been through a lot in college. He's been through a lot here in Philadelphia playing in this fishbowl. And not once, I don't think, have we ever seen a moment where the stage was too big or the moment was too much. Surely he had to develop, and you saw struggles last year, but this year you've seen the complete package. Is there any reason that you guys would think that him would get, disrupted by the me versus Mahomes or the spotlight of the moment?
I mean, this was a guy that took a team to the national championship, won it, then lost his job, and then came back and helped them win again. Nah, I don't think anything phases him. That's why we haven't seen him out of character, even on the field. He's just, the way he speaks, this is how he plays. Mm-hmm. He's calm, collective, gathered, so, and he's been in a bunch of pressure situations in college and in high school. I've heard he's won at every stage of his career.
Yes.
So this will pretty much culminate a little bit, even though it's the beginning of his young career. I just think he's one of the coolest quarterbacks as far as demeanor, composure. that I've ever seen in the Eagles uniform.
Right.
Because nothing ever seems to rattle him.
Right, Trey, you're always so like, I just focus on the guy in front of me. I don't get into like that. And he seems to have the same kind of like, don't get close. I feel like you would really have liked playing with a guy like that.
I love the way Jaylen Hurts attacks the game. To me, I don't think this whole Super Bowl thing will rattle him at all. Yeah. You know, I think that this is something where he seems like the type of person that takes all of that chaos and it calms him even more. You know, and to me, I think that even when you hear him talk and when he speaks, it's nothing about this that's making him feel nervous about this game. He's just, all right, hey, this is another game that I'm going to go out here and try to execute and do as much as I can to help my guys win. And he's going to give you everything that he has. And I think that he's one of the factors that's going to calm everybody else down and get ready for this game.
And when your quarterback don't stumble or stutter, he's good. Like, he doesn't even stutter, so he's cool.
So obviously, we talked about from last year to this year, the development. And one thing that I think doesn't get enough conversation, and it really hasn't been talked about because they haven't thrown the ball a lot in the playoffs, is the accuracy of his deep ball this
really
year.
good.
Which is sort of why I think, again, him and A.J. Brown are going to wind up connecting in a way that they haven't yet in the playoffs. But that has been one of the biggest areas of his improvement from him.
Yeah, he loves to throw against man coverage, and getting A.J. Brown is part of that because he's so confident with him. But now you add Devontae Smith in it and Goddard. He just, when he sees it, something he likes, he throws it. He's super decisive. Now against zone coverage, he's not as decisive. He takes a little bit longer to throw the football. His percentage goes down.
Right.
But he is a very aggressive thrower from a staff that likes to throw the deep ball. They will take their shot plays to.
Sure. Now the question that some have asked that I think is a fair one is not about deer in the headlights, but it's about, okay, you're now potentially in a game where you may have to go toe-to-toe in a passing shootout with Patrick Mahomes. The only issue is, and it's not his fault, is that the Eagles have not been in that kind of situation very often this year. I think the Colts game is probably the one time where they had to come from behind, and that was a really bad Colts team. But nonetheless, they did it. But they actually did that through a mixed offense, too. That was a lot of Jalen running, some short games. I don't remember if there was a huge third or fourth down pass in that
20
moment.
to 17 or something? It was
17-16 was the end of the game.
Low scoring.
Is there a part of you guys that wonders if that's the case, if this has to come down to like a fourth quarter air fest, can the Eagles win that kind of game?
Yes.
Okay. They have the tools to.
By the way, I agree. I think that they can.
Yeah, I think so. You know what? And I think that Jaylen is going to take all of this, you know, not winning the Super Bowl, winning the MVP. I think that's going to add an extra chip to his shoulder. Oh, man. I think that he hopes that we get in a situation like that so he can show that he's the better quarterback.
Sure. And by the way, you know, a lot's been made of how difficult this Eagles offense has been to defend all year because of what Jaylen can do both as a thrower and a runner. In fact, when they're running their RPOs, which is a big part of their offense, right, the defense has to respect 4 different plays within a play. They have to respect the running back run, the quarterback run, the tunnel screen, and if there's press coverage, maybe the pass to the outside. How much stress does that put on the defense? Like, how do you prepare for that every night when you're Steve Spagnuolo?
It's a lot of pressure when you have NFL professionals running the college system, so to speak.
Yeah.
You can say college all you want, but if you got the #1 offense in the league, you're putting up points, and nobody can stop it. It's NFL. It's NFL offense to me.
Right.
So,
which, by the way, every NFL team that's good has been borrowing from the college game, including the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right. To me, I think this game will fall on the legs of the offensive line. Just because they've been the mainstay. They've been the constant. The two lines have been the constant all year.
Sure.
So, you know, and like I wouldn't want to put the game in Jalen's hands to like pass it down the field to win it. I'd rather like I said, a 4-minute offense. Let the big guys up front win it for you.
Right. When they balance and mix it up, they are about as unstoppable as
and
they
with
can
this
be.
team, like you said, they're not very good at stopping the run, and they're porous at covering people, right?
Right.
So it's like offensively, you just pick your poison, really.
Sure. Now, there is some big news coming out in the last few minutes that offensive coordinator Shane Steichen, a big part of this balance that we're talking about, this offense's development of players, is going to be the next head coach of the Indianapolis, or is being targeted. Right.
The only thing for him is, talking to teams have talked to him, he's got great energy in Zoom interviews, but you've got to get in front of him.
Yeah.
That's the guy that they're targeting. Here's kind of what I'm told is probably going to happen here. Brian Johnson's going to be an OC somewhere. He's going to be the Eagles OC. Okay, to take over Snake, and it'll be the Panthers.
Okay.
Yeah, the Panthers really like him. If the Eagles don't promote him, Brian Johnson should get an interview. Frank Reich has told people, for the right coach, he's willing to give a play call. Hasn't decided what he wants to do. But I've also told Reich has 3 or 4 guys on his list.
Right.
But I do believe strongly he's going to be an OC in the next couple of weeks.
It's a good point you make. It's not an automatic, because I know in talking to some people over the last month or when the head coaching interview started, what would happen, I would ask, if Shane Steichen were to get a head coaching job, who fills the offensive coordinator role? Would it be Brian Johnson, who's young? He's still just 2 years in the NFL. A couple of people said, don't forget about the kind of unknown guy on this coaching staff, who is Kevin Patullo, brought here from Indianapolis. He's Nick Sirianni's right-hand man. He is the passing game specialist for the team right now. So that's a name we'd also have to see as far as what happens if Shane Steichen were going to leave.
Patullo Kevin Patullo is Sirianni's right-hand man. And I know the Jets had interest in him. Potentially be their OC, but of course they fill that with Nate Hackett. But look, this is what happens when you're a great football team. This is what people said was the downfall of Andy Reid. When you lose great assistant after great assistant after great assistant. Look how many guys became head coaches? Ron Rivera, Pat Shermer, Brad Childress. Who else am I missing here?
Steve Spagnuolo.
Spags, yes, thank you.
Ron Rivera, you said. Sean McDermott, you said. Yeah, no, a lot of guys have gone on, Yeah, Leslie Frazier was a head coach, I believe, at one point, right? Yeah, so a lot of different guys.
Cully.
Oh, we forgot a big one. I think there was this guy named Doug Peterson who also went on to become a head coach. Yeah, he did pretty well. All right. Let's get back to the offensive line talk, because obviously protecting Jaylen Hurts will be a key today. I have a feeling, I think you guys know the way Spags is, he's probably been in the lab all week long trying to figure out what to do. Now, Lane Johnson has been playing with the adductor, the torn groin.
Yes.
There are times you can tell that he's getting an early jump, he's trying to compensate, that pass rush. Now, we had some discussions with some people who watch tape down on Radio Row, and they said the way the Niners mush rushed a little bit may have been a help to Lane Johnson. He didn't have to carry out the full, he got a little break when Bosa would pull up or whoever. I don't know that Steve Spagnuolo was going to try a mush rush. He may watch the tape and say, no, I want to go at Lane Johnson today. What is your sort of confidence level in Lane being able to hold up for a third time dealing with this kind of injury that he's dealing with?
I mean, I thought Bosa would have his hands full with Bosa being injured, and he was the defensive player of the year also, right?
Yeah, it felt, by the way, early on Bosa did have some good rushes on him, and then things changed.
But this abductor is a groin injury?
Adductor, yeah, it's like a lower groin inside thigh.
That's something new. I don't know what that is.
He pulled his groin.
Tore it.
One of those?
Tore it.
I didn't know we had one of those.
I don't know, man. I mean,
we don't injure those parts. I mean, these new linemen, they're like really, really athletic.
Yeah. We don't injure these parts.
We
That's
don't.
funny.
I have all the confidence in the world in him, because when him not in the lineup, you see like the instant change of that line.
Yeah.
Like you can see the drop off immensely. So, just having him out there at 60, 70, 80% is good enough for me.
What's the worst injury you played through as a lineman?
High ankle sprain?
Ankle sprain.
High ankle.
High ankle. Oh, yeah.
But
I played through back.
Big Red, you gotta just spit on and keep going.
Yeah, you keep going. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, all right, you have a groin pull, a tear. It's cool. This is what you do. Right. To me, and here's my thing with it. I think that what Lane has to do is he has to shoot his hands. He's catching too much. So when you're catching and you're allowing those defensive ends to climb into your chest, then now you're trying to hold up on the bull rush so much that creates even more strain on that groin. So if he can play with a little bit more of shooting his hands and playing with length, then now that plays into his advantage a little bit more instead of catching the whole time with those DNs. Would I go after him? Absolutely, I would try to, just because you know that if you go after him, then now that means that you can put Johnson, Chris Jones.
So I was going to ask that.
Yeah, so, and then you can see if he's going to be able to hold up.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, and Adam, you may have the data on it. He's done this throughout his career, Chris Jones, playing outside
Yes.
along with inside, but now they're doing it rotationally.
Yeah, they actually moved him permanently a couple years ago to DN. It didn't work.
Right.
So as you just said, they will occasionally do it. They're looking for a matchup they think is going to work. He has been incredible, 95 in your program today. And watch Mike Dana, number 51 out of Michigan. He's their sub-package rusher. Yeah. He's really good. He had a calf injury earlier this season. They have guys that can run. And when you talk about NASCAR, when they want to go NASCAR, he will come in.
Yeah.
They'll play in. They'll move someone who's bigger or longer. Frank Clark can move inside.
Right. This is a good pass rush. Frank Clark, Chris Jones, Dana. They also have, who's the other defensive and the other pass rusher?
This is more of a power rusher.
Right. But he came on at the end of the year. I think he wound up finishing with 6 sacks, which was second.
Oh, there's a Carlos Dunlop, and his day was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at a defense that finished with 55 sacks. They're second in the league in sacks right now behind the Eagles with 70. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But
second. And by the way, 55 is a really high number.
55 is a high number.
Do you see the Chiefs and Spags trying to force the issue today as far as telling the edge defenders just crash down on the running back on these RPOs and let the quarterback keep it, and we're going to try to hit him? We're gonna play that outside, loop somebody there, and try to hit Jaylen Hurts as much as possible.
I think Spags is going back and he's looking at what Tampa Bay did a couple years ago. When they were saying where you would have that defensive end crash and then the backside linebacker would play over the top.
Kind of like what the Bears did this year.
Yeah. So that's what you do when it comes to stopping some of these RPOs. You had that defensive end go ahead and crash, and then you have the backside linebacker play over the top, because now it throws off everything, because that's your read. Your read is that defensive end. If he comes crashing, you pull, and then now, but if that linebacker stays disciplined, plays over the top, then he's the one that's going to stop it.
Sure.
But now the flip side to that is you have to have your offensive tackles say, all right, you know what? If we're working,
so he can carry it through.
You see what I'm saying? So now, if you know that, all right, that defensive end is going to crash and that linebacker is going to play over the top, you slow play your combination block. Because you're working with the guard up to that linebacker, so now you step down and you turn your combination block turns into a cutoff on the fly. Because then now you hand the ball off and then the ball is right up the middle. I mean, that's, to me, would be how I would.
Man, with offensive line play, all you got to do is step where you're supposed to step. Somebody's going to be in your face.
Right.
Whoever's it, that's who you block.
Right.
It really is that simple.
Yeah. Now, we've seen Jaylen run this postseason, but we know he's still dealing with the shoulder sprain.
Yeah.
And he's much more calculated on when he's going to slide or throw the ball. I think he's been throwing the ball out of bounds wisely more this postseason than he's done even during the regular season. Yeah, the sliding.
But you add another week of getting it right. My sense is, just talking to people, watch practice, I think this is the last game of the year. I think he's going to run more. I don't think he should try to be as careful. I'm not saying they're going to run it 15 times with him, but if it's there, I think he's going to take it rather than run out of bounds. That would be the difference.
Yeah. All right. Well, so do you think this is more of a? Do you think Jaylen Hurts it's the last game of the year? There's no pain tomorrow or no game to worry about. Do you think he'll run a little bit more aggressively?
I think they'll call some runs, not how they did early in the season when they was like, all right, we're going to give him 15 runs because we don't know he's the franchise quarterback.
Right.
So I think they'll have some design runs, but it'll be like the safe ones.
Gotcha.
The ones where he's not taking like a pounding or there's not a free rusher at him.
Yeah, I don't want to see any quarterback powers.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
No. I don't want to see quarterback powers. Yeah, I don't want to see a quarterback power run.
I like the quarterback
power. What about
power
spread empty?
I like the power when Kelsey's pulling out.
Right.
Yeah.
But we need Kelsey, Malu. I need more than just one.
Everybody, I need a true outside zone. I don't want quarterback power where he's trying to run between the tackle and tight end. I want him where he did. Now, if you spread everybody out, protection breakdown, then he gets upfield. I'm okay with that. But when you're calling quarterback power and we're working on two combinations, a double team that's going to work up to the backside linebacker, you got somebody pulling, and I need him to run between that. Nah, I don't want that. I don't want that.
Playing traffic, someone's going to hit you.
We run in plays where I want you to run to this orange cone.
Yes.
That's out of bounds.
Yes.
Do that.
Yeah, do that. Go hit the line markers.
Was it your last year with Eagles? Is his first year? Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, 2011.
Do you have any inkling you would this special?
Yeah, I did.
Did that?
From the first game we played Atlanta, I told him, I was like, dude, you're gonna be the best center in this league. Keep
You
it
told
up.
him that?
I told him that. Yeah. Well, just it's different. Like, even though I had my issues with Howard Mudd, I still saw what I saw in Jason Kelce. Just he was always the young guy that it was never like, well, how do you do this or how do you do that? Or, all right, this is what we do this time. All right, so what do I need to do to get this? Or what do I need to do to have a better, to get my head across and stuff like that? It was always one of those things where he was always trying to learn. And it was he never talked back. He never like, you don't do that or whatever. Like, he was like what a rookie should. Just kept his mouth closed and worked. And you can just see it, man. He was one of those, always finished the blocks. He was a linebacker in college, so he had that motor. And I mean, it's just year in and year out, I just saw him getting better and better. And he got a little bit, just because of his size, get bull sometimes with those bigger guys, but later in his career, he's learned how to anchor down a little bit. I think having girls will make you do that. I'm a father of girls, so
So you're a girl dad too.
yeah, girl dad.
We're girl dads.
So we know how to sit it down now.
So his athleticism, guys, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
35 years old.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. Like, how do you guys quantify athleticism, guys? Like, how do you determine alignment is athletic?
Well, he ran the fastest, one of the
How he
fastest
moved.
40s,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah. He was also
Well,
quick.
he moves.
I think he's really good when he gets out in space. I think that he's gotten better. I think he's gotten a lot stronger this year. You've seen him where he's dominating some big defensive tackles before, where you would see him get pushed into the
Who did he
backfield.
have flying last week? Was it
He put, it was 2 weeks ago. No, he put Lawrence down.
yeah.
No, not Lawrence. Ellis, the backup.
Nobody
nose.
else did against the Niners last week. He had one block.
Yeah.
Tape, 98, 99. He just one on. Wasn't the?
And
He just
because he was trying to go through. Yeah,
Right.
I saw that. I was like,
Is that strength or learning to play with leverage?
Playing with leverage.
because he's not very big, and
Right.
I think over the years he's learned how to use his size to his strength.
Sure.
Because he can get up on the guys, and if you're lower than the guy in front of you, you got a pretty good chance of winning that one.
One last thing on the O-line before we close this out, because you said something that triggered with me. You said something about no free rushers. Now, you were talking about more specifically on quarterback zone read, right? But the last couple of weeks, because they faced Wink Martindale, faced D'Amico Ryans, who does a lot of stuff at scrimmage, there have been a couple of situations, and even at the end of the year, where a couple of free rushers on a 4-man rush have been able to get by because of disguise. That cannot happen too much today, I would imagine.
If that will be my only gripe, it will be that.
I think it's
because
fair.
he's over the years, you kind of like you'll see a guy just come scot-free, and you're like, why?
Right.
So that's one thing that they have to get shored up. Because you don't want to have anybody free facing Spags, because then he'll see that and exploit it, and somebody else will come free.
And
from
he
the
will
other
put
side.
6 or 7 guys up there
course.
and try to mess up your protection.
Because he likes to confuse you.
Yeah.
And that's what he actually told me when we was going into a game. I forget who was playing, but we was meeting. He was like, we like to get into the face of the center and mess up his mind.
Right.
Because he's the one that calls out the protection.
right?
Yeah.
So if they confuse the center, they're gonna have a big day.
Because the worst thing you want to see is when you get those 2 linebackers in the AA gaps, and then now one drops, one comes, one
who's
drops.
who?
Right.
And with that, it's just like you got to kind of stick to the rules. If we know that we're going left, and then the back takes the one on the right, and then he'll pop out. So it's those type of games that you're going to have to deal with. And then you have to look at what's going to happen with those zone blitzes that come out of there as well.
Communication. Gotta talk, man.
It's never a good thing, and we've seen it a couple times where you see two guys blocking one guy blocking nobody,
it looks
and
so
one
bad.
free rusher just ready to level the quarterback.
Like my man who was fixing his pass one year, Juan Brown.
Oh, yeah.
That dude.
Yeah.
Jamal.
Yeah, he did not have a good time here.
Dude's fixing his gloves in the middle of the play.
Got thrown out of the team hotel and
That has to be. Someone's got to document that. What in the world was such a good player at one point?
he was. That was the sad, but we all thought it was a smart move to put him on the practice
What
squad.
year was that?
It was like 2 years ago.
The disastrous year of 2020.
Yes.
He sacked Carson Wentz in the game against the Ravens. Despite being his teammate, he sacked him.
Never heard of an offensive lineman getting a sack?
No. Hey, if you're not going to give one up, you might as well get one.
Don't do it.
All right, let me remind you guys about our team of producers, Public Square and Rebel Hill. They're back. The team of James and Zach have been back behind the controls all year long, bringing Inside the Birds to you in high definition with great graphics, great videos, and more. Please, you got to contact Public Square Media and Rebel Hill Productions to produce your webcast, podcast, live show, anything you can dream of. This team can bring it to life. Let me tell you, we are not what we are here at Inside the Birds Pregame Live without our team of Jim and Zach. They are amazing. Got to contact them to bring your broadcast, your stream, whatever it is, your show to life the way Inside the Birds is.
I don't know. You guys do OnlyFans? No, I'm just
We're going to have to censor you at some point before the end of the night.
Oh, get your OnlyFans going.
That's what I said. Y'all do OnlyFans?
Maybe they do. Who knows? There's money to be made.
You getting in the
He
lab?
just got it. Zach's like, wait,
I can be an executive producer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Get a producer.
that 20-second delay is a heck of a thing, huh?
This is the internet, thank goodness.
All right, now let's move on to talking about Mojo. Mojo is the sports stock market. They have a great promo code. It's ITB125. You can get a $100 deposit bonus on Mojo if you download the app now using the link in the description, or there's a QR code that's right on your screen right now. You can get that one too. Mojo has been building the sports stock market where you can invest in your favorite player, invest in what you know, turn your sports knowledge into real money with Mojo, the sports stock market. It's all about real stats, real value. The shares that you're buying in players entitle you to a guaranteed payout based on career-ending stats. That's key. There's no off season, there's no off days. The share prices will rise and fall constantly in real time based on career-long projections. Cash out anytime, build a portfolio, buy and sell on your terms every play, every game, every season. You got over 300 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends to choose from. Remember, Mojo is available in New Jersey on iOS, and by downloading the app, you got a chance to win up to $10,000 in free shares of player stock. Just because you don't live in New Jersey, though, doesn't mean Mojo won't be coming to a town or a state near you. So make sure you download the app now. Start getting used to seeing how those share prices rise and fall. You got to be 21 and physically located in New Jersey right now to trade on Mojo. But again, it'll be at a place near you, so make sure you download. If you have a gambling problem, help is available at 1-800-GAMBLER. You know, Jaylen Hurts is a guy we've talked about today on Mojo, and his share price compared to like some of the elite quarterbacks, it's only about $58, $59. I imagine you win today, because again, this thing is based on your career long, how your career will finish. I mean, after a season like this, Adam, feels like a good time to still jump on him at a reasonable price. He's going to be QB1 going forward. There's no doubt about that.
I'm surprised that his price is as low as it is.
Yeah.
I want to say low. It's not like it's $3, but I think it would be higher.
Well, right now the market is saying they still don't know what kind of career Jaylen Hurts is going to have compared to some others.
So,
go ahead.
comparison to, like
for example, Lamar Jackson's at $65.
Well, what's Pat Mahomes?
So they're still projecting Mahomes is in the like 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have Hurts over Lamar. Lamar's got an injury history. They don't throw the football very much.
Right.
I know he's a former MVP. Here's the thing about Hurts going forward here. Goddard's going nowhere. Devontae Smith's going nowhere. A.J. Brown's not going anywhere. You know they're going to have a good offensive line. Mailata's your left tackle. Lane will be here for a couple more years. They'll probably draft the right tackle. Dixon's going to be here a while. They've got Jerick. I'm not worried about the offense. The offense is going to be great.
Right.
So I love that price. I'd be buying Hurts right now.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you know, what do you have to lose? Because as Adam mentioned, there's two things. One, I think 10 of the 11 of these guys are homegrown on offense. A.J. Brown's the only non-homegrown guy. So that means that you got a lot of them under contract, a lot of them economical, and they'll do a good job of replacing. If Miles Sanders leaves, they'll have a running back, right?
Currently are homegrown.
Right.
Yeah.
And number two is no team addresses offensive line early in the draft like the Eagle. A lot of teams draft linemen when they need them. They draft linemen when 2 years before they need them.
Which will be a kind of a sticking point with me with Stoutland.
Yeah.
Like the testament of a really good offensive line coach is if you can get the undrafted free agent guys to play.
Does seventh round
drafted.
former rugby player Jordan Mailata?
He's a 7th round draft pick.
Oh, come on.
What do you think the stats are on that?
He got drafted.
Come on, he was but you got to give him credit.
I didn't get drafted. And my first year of organized football was my 11th grade.
Okay.
I got
high
you.
school?
That's true. That's the one thing he
I'm
hasn't
not
done.
comparing me to him. I'm just saying.
No, I know what you're saying. That's the one thing he hasn't done is had to groom an undrafted guy.
Undrafted guy.
Right.
Like, I mean,
That's fair.
But to groom a guy who never played football in his life?
That is pretty good.
It is pretty good. It's pretty good. And he's taking his.
I love you, Juan, guys. It takes every ounce of energy.
It's not that. It's like because if you look at what you have, I mean, he was already an athlete at 6'8".
Well, he was a huge man.
All you have to
Good
do
athlete.
is. Like, all you have to do is tell, or this is how offensive linemen move.
All right.
You know, off season of that, you're good.
No, I like it. Stout's got a chip on. Stout's gonna have a chip on his
You got a
shoulder.
couple years that you got to pick your lungs.
Rugby, that's a form of football already. Like, come on, man. That's that. When you're in a
Putting them out
scrum,
there on that
You're
island,
tough, man. You're tough.
no, it's not. But when you're in a scrum, it isn't like shoulder to shoulder, right?
Yeah. I've never played.
That's an offensive lineman. That's what linemen do.
I didn't play, so I can't argue.
All right.
He did a hell of a job with him, man.
I'm not saying he didn't, but y'all just bringing up one factor.
Yeah.
It is true that most of the Eagles' offensive linemen come from a first-round or second-round pedigree. That's fair.
Kelsey's
That's
sick.
fair. Well, Kelsey was developed before Stoutland even.
Well,
so
no, he did have his guy.
Right.
That he coached in college that came here.
You're talking about Warmack.
Yeah, that's like I don't understand.
Warmack,
I don't understand how
that
didn't that translate?
Well, he was well overdrafted. He really never was that good at the pro level.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, for example, he didn't go elsewhere. He had opportunities elsewhere,
Right.
and also wasn't very good.
Yeah, that was my only issue.
I got you.
Yeah, like,
All right.
Coach a guy and he doesn't make it. Come on, man.
You know,
Like
and
with
again,
Juan with Jermaine
he may not get the opportunity.
That's right.
Wait, what was that?
Juan with Jermaine Mayberry.
Texas A&M.
Mayberry,
Yeah.
Nick Cole,
Yeah.
See?
Max Sheen Gill. Oh, Max didn't
Max was
play great,
drafted.
but he was drafted. That's
drafted.
right. Nick Cole was undrafted.
Man.
Nick Cole was pretty good until it was the end of the 2009 season, and it was because you got hurt. Then it was
Yeah.
Nick Cole and Max Sheen.
And Max, yeah.
That was like a little bit too much for
Because there was too much friends, right?
Yeah.
All right. Kill us.
Let's move on to our player of the game here. Picks.
Stoutland's still a great coach, man. He's still a great coach.
I love him.
Don't crush me, man. Don't crush me.
Hey, that's okay. Somebody's got to hold somebody accountable every day, and I like it. All right. Let's get into our player of the game segment. With Trey, we'll start off with you. Who's going to be the player of the game today?
I'm thinking Hassan Reddick. I like him against his defense against Orlando Brown and his offensive line out there. I think Hassan Reddick is going to go out there and wreck shop.
All right, Hassan Reddick, good choice. Jamaal, who do you think is the player of the game going to be?
I think it'll be Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
Simply because, that's been Jalen's safety valve, and this team shouldn't pose too much of a threat defensively, but, you always go back to what you know, so.
All right.
The guy over the middle.
Dallas Goedert. All right, Adam, who will be the player of the game today?
It's going to be number 11 and not Carson Wentz. It's going to be A.J. Brown. It's going to be A.J. Brown because he's going to get them. He's going to get their secondary. They're going to get him on Trent McDuffie. And as you were setting up earlier in the show, he's due. I know they spread around. It could be somebody else every game, but it's going to be this guy. And it's time. And he'll set it up. And when they throw those crossers, he's going to leverage McDuffie, when there's bang 8 plays. Like the Titans used to use. He's going to have a huge game today.
All right, well, there is going to be a lot of passing today. I know that. So my player to watch is C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the man who, when there's a lot of passing, was very opportunistic and a big reason why the Eagles got off to that great start this year with all those interceptions. This is a game, a Super Bowl, where that just one flip of the field, one turnover created could be the difference. And I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson will be the guy to do it. Wow. Remember, if you want to bet the game, you can do it right here at Rivers Casino. The line is 1.5, or you can do it on the Bet Rivers app. Eagles are favored 1.5, over under 51. Trey, what's the score today?
I'm going 35-17. Birds.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Oh, yeah.
18 point, that's a heck of a cover.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. That would also just make the over-under there at 51, 52 points. Jamal, who wins today?
I don't know who wins, but the score's going to be 31-27.
Well, you picked the Eagles to win, so I assume you're sticking with that. You didn't?
I just gave you a score.
Well, give me a team.
I mean, what do you mean? What? They ain't paying me, man. No. Yeah, I got a 31-27 Eagles.
31-27 Eagles. All right. Adam, who's got?
I've got it. Eagles 30, Chiefs 27. I don't need to do the dramatics here.
Yeah.
I'm going with a better team here. I do believe the Chiefs could keep it relatively close. But I just think the Eagles, their offensive talent, the play calling, the design. And we barely talked about Dallas Goedert. He's also capable of having a big game.
Big game from Dallas Goedert. All right. I will say that I have the Eagles winning, and I don't know what the screen's going to say because I think I accidentally sent my scoring correctly. I thought it was going to be a close game, 34-31. And I may have accidentally told the guys 34-17. So either way, I think the Eagles are going to win.
So
I can see here it says 34-17. That is not what I meant. I actually think I meant 34-27. I just got the 1 and the 2 messed up. So that's on me. It's not on Public Square. They did their job. Zach and Jim are great. It's me that screwed it up, but I do think the Eagles will win. All right, remember, bet the game here at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook or on the Bet Rivers app. Big thanks to Rivers, Mojo, Sky Motor Cars, the teams at Rebel Hill, Public Square. Big thanks to Jamaal Jackson, Trey Thomas filling in. Of course, you can catch us, Adam Caplan, myself, and Trey Thomas on the post-game show. And also make sure you check out our coverage after the game on InsideTheBirds.com. Thanks for being with us all year long on Inside the Birds pregame live. Enjoy the game.